Morning.
Good morning.
Has Pat contacted you about picking up the Blades tickets?
No, he is not.
Because I think, just based on things he said in the past, it sounds like his wife and someone else will be here for this weekend, but he'll be here next week. I don't know. We'll have to ask him during a break whether or not, if you wanted, you could use or give away the tickets this week. Whew. My God, the game was quick. It was awful. 2 hours, 51 minutes. What do you think we'd have to do to get a college game to approach that?
God, I have no idea. Well, this is wonderful. I didn't get paid. She says she paid me, and I have not gotten money. Yeah.
Well, no. Now she's done it to both of us. But yeah, no, mine went in yesterday. I knew something.
What?
I knew something had to be up when you asked me that yesterday. I'm like, I was hoping it was just a matter of mine went in a few minutes before yours.
No.
How'd last night go?
Oh, it's fine. It's Halloween.
Mom come over?
Yeah. All dressed up.
Really great. Can't wait to talk about it. That's awesome. God, both of our 78-year-old moms got dressed up. I have a feeling I'm going to see my mom more than once a year now. Between the train, which she loved, and her granddaughter and great-granddaughter. Hmm.
1 minute.
Did you play pickleball as a pickle?
Unfortunately, I did not. Keeping the costume, though.
Sure. Why not? Never know when it can come in handy.
30 seconds. What a great looking Halloween football game, aesthetically.
Aesthetically.
Orange.
Yeah, the
Right. Oh, no, I got it. Because
game was god awful.
Ooh, wee.
All right, here we go.
Felt like Thursday night.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. First day of November. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Hope you had a good Halloween. Thanks for, starting your month off with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I come at you in Cleveland, where they're still basking in the glow of a Browns win. What a glow it was. Mark is in the cozy confines of the 239. Top of the morning to you.
Good morning, David. You looked tremendous last night. Tremendous.
Was quite a look. It was quite a look. I felt a little hung out to dry. There were a few other people who were supposed to, and not Joe and Troy, although Joe was hinting he was going to maybe go find a 1970s shirt and tie to go with the Blazers. You know, a lot of people didn't get the Blazers. They were just, the Blazers did nothing for them. Didn't notice them. Did nothing.
I was still trick-or-treating for the Open, so I did not see the Blazers in the Open. I was still out with the daughter, but I did see you.
Well, you're not alone based on the responses I got. Apparently, with the cancellation of Game 3 of the World Series and people back in their house after, the sun had set wherever they were and trick-or-treating and what have you. But here's what happened. Phil Dean is he's the producer of Monday Night Football. And Phil and I don't know one another hardly at all. I mean, he turned to me one time in a production meeting. I was sarcastic, and we haven't really spoken since. But apparently he saw me in the booth. They got a couple cameras in and around the booth. And he saw me. And for whatever reason, he really liked it. So he was determined that we were going to go to the booth early, is what I was told after the fact. I just did it for the booth.
Your commitment to this costume is all world. And I quote Joe Buck there.
And for the record, I was Sully. I was Sully from Monsters, Inc. I've had quite a few people thought that I was this, I was that. That was the costume. Sully from Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. was the theme of our family's Halloween. It's my daughter's first Halloween as a mom. Our granddaughter today is 9 months old. She was dressed up as Boo. My mother even got dressed up, for those that know the whole Monsters, Inc. thing. She was Roz. And she
Perfect for your mom, by the way.
And she gooped up her hair just like Roz and everything, as she told me, hey, nobody knows me here, so I can look like a fool here for my granddaughter and great-granddaughter, and, who's going to judge me? So that was the theme in the family, Monsters, Inc., and so I carried out my part of the theme while on the road, but I thought Joe would love it, and Troy would be like, wow, I need to find a new spotter. Troy loved it. And all Joe could talk about was like, wow, you're really wearing this for the game, huh? I mean, I think Joe was like, wow, that is hideous. I applaud you for the effort, but he didn't say hideous, but his face said, man, wouldn't catch me dead in that. So that, I think, was the reaction. Joe's stats guy, Ed, was supposed to wear a costume, and he claimed his wife grabbed it from him as he was heading out the door to come to Cleveland. There was John Perry. There was talk he might wear a referee's top, former referee, official. So I wasn't supposed to be out there on my own, was what I thought.
And you were left out on your own.
Very much so.
They hung you out to dry.
I needed a Sundance. I did. I needed a Robin. I need somebody. There was a young lady in the back of the booth, part of the crew. She did have on a Halloween outfit. It was okay. Quite frankly, from a faraway booth shot, you if you saw her, you probably couldn't tell. So yeah, I was very much alone. Apparently, they were like bringing people into the booth, going, "Look at this! Look at that guy. Who is that guy? Oh, nobody important, but look at him."
Outstanding. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. And
Thank you.
I think it was needed with the way that game was played.
Well, Gary sent me a very funny text. He said, "Boy, some people will do anything to get on television." But yes, the game was borderline dreadful, and so it became a topic of conversation. Apparently, the game being borderline dreadful, that apparently the Manning cast had some fun with me at my expense also, and most people just didn't know what the costume was, even though Joe clearly said it. But most people watch sports not necessarily with the volume up anymore.
But no World Series last night. The game was postponed. So that throws another wrench into this World Series.
Yeah. And interesting that they're going to keep the travel day. I mean, we need to have both teams win a game in Philly to have a travel day, but I mean, they're still keeping the travel day, which means potentially, Mark, we got a couple of interesting factoids. Remember, Thursday was supposed to be the day off in the World Series. And as fate would have it, Philadelphia and Houston were going to play each other in the NFL. So, what are the odds of that you get the World Series two combatants and you get an NFL game the same week and it's the same two cities? But now a game 7 would go up against Sunday Night Football. This would be like old times. And by old times, we mean like 5 years ago.
And they'll get a Thursday night game and go up against that now. So this will be just interesting.
Mm-hmm. What I think baseball, especially if it's 2-2, or Phillies up 3-1, I think baseball can beat football on Amazon Thursday.
It'll be close. I think 3-1 would do it. Games of consequence seem to get a little more juice, even though 2-2 would be a more dramatic game. But usually if there's a game of consequence, gets a few more eyeballs, particularly if it's an upset. So we shall see.
But yes, rained out, and it wasn't like one of the LCS games in which the Yankees divisional game, I think it was, in which they waited until 10 o'clock before announcing that it was rained out. No, this sucker was done before 8. So, Joe Buck could at the top of the telecast go. And for those of you who are planning on watching the World Series, welcome. Here we are in Cleveland. But Mark, all that talk about the Bengals' improved offensive line? They won 4 of their last 5, and the sacks, they had like 15 in the first 2 games. They had like 14 in the next 5, and the line is, really coming together. If that's coming together, boy, I'd hate to see them tearing apart.
And it is just ironic in that league where here are the Browns scuffling along, but they have the Bengals number.
Yep.
And sometimes you just have a team's number. And who knows, next week, Cincinnati could have a clean pocket and look really good. But against the Browns, they struggled. The Browns did everything right. As boring as it was, they did it. They played a perfect game. They played a perfect, boring football game in beating the Bengals last night.
I don't know if this is too, X's and O's this early, but Mark, I really think, and this is not just because I believe this, I really think we are seeing the significance of a number 1 wide receiver. Look at the difference on the Eagles with an A.J. Brown. Look at the difference, even though they lost. Look at the difference with D-Hop back for Arizona. I mean, they went up and down the field on the Vikings. Now, they screwed it up, and the Vikings went up and down the field on them too. All right, but, he had 12 catches for $150, and, he was unstoppable. The Bengals with Jamar Chase, the Bengals without Jamar Chase. And I think it backs up all that Miami gave up for Tyreek Hill. I really do. For as much as a quarterback is the most important position, Mark, a pass rushing defensive end or a left tackle was always considered number 2 for the longest time. I really think now the second most important position is, if you don't have a number 1 wide receiver, you're not going to win. You're just not. It's too hard. And what a number 1 receiver can do to a defense, not to mention Gary again, but it was like 8-10 years on our show in which he talked about, I always believed in pressure points. I mean, look at how the Browns went after Joe Burrow yesterday. You really think they would have played the Bengals that way if Chase was on the field? Hell no. They would have had to devote 2 guys to him on every play. I mean, if Jamar Chase is sitting home watching that game, his agent's calling him up going, dude, you are getting paid when it's time. I mean, paid.
And we'll see the teams that are missing that if they go to Denver and try to get a Judy out of there. Who's going to sign Beckham right now? But there are players to acquire, and 4 o'clock is the trade deadline, as David Moulton will do the happy dance for most of the afternoon because the league's already started to come to him.
I'm in a hole, though, you have to admit. On the show yesterday, we placed the over-under trades at 5.5, and you said, ooh, that's a little high. I'm going under. And I only got 1 in the books right now. It was a significant one, but I think I only have 1 in the books. So I need 4 trades in the next 9 hours and 47 minutes.
And then 1 more to get to the over.
Yeah, that too. Thanks.
Miller and Moulton, the text line is open. It is 21,000. Your thoughts on David's costume, Monday Night Football, the World Series. David Samson will join us on the show today. Pat Kirwan will join us at 8 o'clock as well. And Joe Zagacki on the show today to talk about the Canes and what has gone wrong in Coral Gables this season.
I don't know if we have enough time for Joe Zagacki. If he's going to talk about what's gone wrong, segment may only be long enough, Mark, to talk about what's gone right. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for waking up with us here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
RCB, I don't understand why the Lions would trade Hawkinson. I don't even know how he could be available. I mean, he's not close to getting paid, is he? I mean, isn't he still like another year or so away from getting paid?
Yep. And he's a big part of their team and their future. I don't see that one.
Yeah, I don't think they can afford to trade Hawkinson. I think they'd lose the room. A first and a fifth for Hawkinson. I still don't think they could do it. Jimmy, the word is that the Broncos now are holding on to their wide receivers. That the other parts they would trade, but not the wide receivers.
Although I will say this Lions website that I'm looking at has Hawkinson as the number one guy listed as a trade. Still has that thing medium, like it says it. What is it? How to do it? Likelihood, low to medium likelihood.
I just think it goes back to what you talked about. There aren't many good ones, but I mean, at some point, don't you have to start keeping the good players? Besides, I think there's more questions on the other side of the ball. I would, from the Lions.
They fired the secondary coach or whatever.
Yeah, let's start making excuses.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 after the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Terrific Tuesday lined up for you. David Samson in a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan, the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And Joe Zagacki, who is the, well, most tenured voice in the state of Florida, at least for college sports, right? Over 20 years as the voice of the Miami Hurricanes. It's Knowles week. Florida State, Miami. Canes a big home underdog after their last month of football. That's not a surprise. We'll talk to Joe about how the season has gone so far, and Florida State week coming up in about 2 hours.
Boy, wouldn't it be nice for Florida State Miami week to be a big week?
They're working on it. Both sides are working on it.
They've been working on it for a while.
They have. Not going to lie. They have. And the few times that each side's been good in the last 17, 18 years, they haven't been good necessarily together. So that's always a problem.
And this year, Florida State trying to be good.
They're pretty good.
Still has the opportunity to have a good year.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. If they were to run the table, they'd be 9-3 going into a bowl game. And if they run the table, they will have beaten LSU, Miami, and Florida. I mean, come on now. Even if they go 8-4, Mark, but they beat the two in-state schools in the month of November. When this regular season's over, you turn to a Knowles fan, you go, so, what do you think? He better be like, we had a pretty darn good year, thank you very much. Let's cap this off with a bowl win, and let's keep going forward.
I agree 100%. It's the running the table the rest of the way is the part that has to be done, because it's not easy. Yeah, they're a big favorite over Miami. Then they've got to play Syracuse, which is a good team on the road. And then they're going to play the Gators at the end of the year. So if they can pull that off, hats off to them. I'm reluctant to ever say on their way, but they had the season in which you could see an avenue for them to be on their way.
But quite frankly, they're going to be favored in the two in-state games. I mean, they're further along of the big three in state. Now, UCF's going, yeah, we're the ones ranked, and we just got a new TV deal. We're going to start getting 30-something million a year minimum, by the way. Just hello. If you guys don't get your act together, this is really going to become a big four. Just to let you know, if you guys don't get it together quickly, we are going to have to start calling this a big four.
Well, 30 some odd million. And then when you factor in how they've looked at it with the bowls and the other money they're getting, UCF could be getting nearly $50 million a year from the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that'll work. I mean, that's ACC money minimum, right? And their deal's shorter term than the ACC is. I mean, right now, the way it's laid out, Miami and Florida State and the money they get from the TV networks in their conference, and the money that UCF, about to join the Big 12, is going to get, and then still have another contract that can be renewed. Right now, if you had to bet on which school is going to make more money over the next 12 or so years from their conference and their TV deals and what have you, amazingly, the answer could very well be UCF.
So they had I thought that team, they had a monster weekend with that TV deal getting done. And talk about the little engine that could all of a sudden playing on the major stage. Overnight, they are, what is the AAC? $6-7 million a team?
Yeah, I think it's 7. Right. They're going to quintuple it, basically. They're going to times it by 5, essentially, what they're making now. Certainly by 4. Oh, yeah, and they beat Cincinnati at home to get ranked.
Really good weekend for UCF.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best ones they've had in a while, and they've had some good ones. But they got paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more than any UCF fan could have expected. Now, if you're a South Florida fan, and Matt Baker wrote it in his story today in the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com, in which he said, there's the difference. This is what South Florida's missing out on versus what UCF's getting. Just so you know how painful when they were left behind that decision is. But the new commissioner of the Big 12 did say, yeah, we're open to expansion. So now it's up to South Florida to get it to the point where they want you. I think when the Big 12 commissioner said that, Mark, he said it because he's looking at raiding the Pac-12 personally. I mean, that's my theory on all this, by the way, is that it's why, with still 3 years left on the contract, that the Big 12 could get this negotiated deal with Fox and ESPN, because I think the three of them may work together to raid the Pac-12. That's just my theory. Haven't heard anything, the whole deal, but I'm convinced that Fox and ESPN have been players behind the scenes to get certain schools to leave and go to certain conferences.
Then do you think part of the Pac-12 goes to the Big Ten and the rest is eaten up by the Big 12?
Yes. That Oregon and Washington maybe goes with the big boys, and then the Arizona schools and whoever else wants to join them goes to the Big 12. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking that what's left of the Pac-12 joins the Mountain West.
And the Pac-12 essentially dissolves.
History books, kind of like Big East football.
And I never once thought that the Big 12 commissioner talking about expanding meant USF. So I wasn't really thinking where you were, but I never, ever thought, I mean, to me, that ship has left. It left the port. USF is still there, and that's all they are. And unfortunately for South Florida, that is not going to work because there's never going to be they wanted a Big Five at one point. The Big Four can happen because UCF's now playing in the deep end of the pool with all the money.
So just a thought, I think, down the road, in theory, if South Florida were to get their act together, they could be really good. They could be actually, we kind of, and by the second half of this decade, supposedly they're going to have an on-campus stadium. I mean, hell, Mark, the Canes don't have that. So, I mean, I do think that they can position themselves by the latter part of this decade in which they could be like, this wouldn't be a bad add to a conference. But we'll see. Unfortunately, odds are against them. And it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time. And they're going to need a little luck.
And they've not had any on the football field because they need to start having some success. And they've played hard this year for a half. They've played a couple of quarters good here, a couple of good quarters there, but they've been beat, and they've been beat soundly. And they could use a little luck on the football field as well.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He needs to turn into their Frank Beamer, in which it took 6 years for Frank to turn the corner at Vautech. And he's going to be entering year 4 next year. And when year 4 starts, he will not have even seen the corner. Never mind, approached it and turned it.
Miller and Moulton, the starting five coming up on the other side. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, Joe Zagacki, still all to join us today on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Get your text in on any of these subjects to 21,000. Like to hear from you today on the show. Thanks for listening. The starting five is next.
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Shakespeare. It's exciting to wear tights and have people go, I can't see anything. He's not there yet. Someone give him a dagger. Thank you. Does the dagger see his hand? What is this I hold before me? Oh, what a Rogan peasant slave. Nothing. That's just something about discontent. All right, let it breathe. You ever picture different people playing Hamlet, say to be or not to be, like Stallone? Oh, Stallone. Mel Gibson just did Hamlet. Pretty good, I hear. It's fun to play here. It's like great to hear, right? Stallone, I could Stallone, you could feel like be or what? You know. Schwarzenegger walks into the room. I'm back. Watch out, Denmark. Mother, come here. I love you. Big kiss for you. Sorry, you're dead. Look over here. I'm going to do another speech, but first, I'm going to tear through a wall and flex my nipples. Don't be afraid of me. Don't be afraid. Oh, Nicholson, you can think of him. Yeah, he'd be great. He'd be great, Hamlet. Just like neither a borrower nor a lender be. And the T-shirts keep for thine self. These are obscure references, but we must. We throw him in, just keep Shakespeare said, was it not him that said, kill all the lawyers first, but of course there were no agents then. That's right. Who knew? Who knew? 10%. My lord must give up that check for not giving this. Carpe Diem sees the check, and yet Neil Bush still works.
Well, Mac, you bring up an interesting point. Is Dave Dombrowski, by this run, whether they cap it off or not, is Dave Dombrowski now going into the Hall of Fame? Marlins World Series, Tigers to the World Series, Red Sox winning the World Series, and now the Phillies. Yeah, Larry, there was a young lady in the back who had on a costume, but she couldn't be seen by the cameras. Paul, I think NASCAR is doing everything possible with all the Ross Chastain stuff.
Did he do Dan Patrick yesterday, you said?
That was kind of a joke that, the national shows are going to bring him on. I mean, did you hear some of the other car audio? Like other drivers who in their cars going around and seeing Chastain and some of the comments they made as it was happening?
No, I did not.
It's I don't think so, DC. It's not going to be available on any national feeds. To find audio, it would take somebody at home having recorded it, send it to us. My daughter and son-in-law may have it, but
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, top of the morning to you, Miller and Moulton. First day of November. This year's moving along, isn't it? Well, last 5 weeks, not so much, but it was just, as Hank Stram once said, I felt 2022 was matriculating down the field. Last week of September, it began to slow down a little bit. So, hoping that things feel as if they, pick up the pace a little bit here to end the year. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question, Clutch Vodka Play of the Day, a recap of Halloween 2022. But first, it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Yeah, the Browns kicked the tar out of the Bengals by much worse than the final score of 32-13, which, by the way, was either a push on the over-under, which was at 45 most of the day, but apparently, within an hour of kickoff, in some places it went up to 45.5, which means the missed extra point by McPherson cost a few people some bucks. But the Browns improved to 3-5. The Bengals fell to 4-4, and they're 0-3 in the division, Mark. So while they're a game behind the Ravens, they ain't going to be winning any AFC North tiebreakers. I mean, the Ravens might as well be a game and a half up the rest of the way, really. I mean, they've got the tiebreaker. They are 2-0 in the division, and the Bengals are 0-3. I mean, the only way the Bengals can have the tiebreaker on the Ravens is to win their remaining 3 division games, and the Ravens lose at least 3, if not all 4 of their remaining division games. And if that were to happen, I don't think the two teams are going to end up tied. The Bengals were held to 229 net yards. Burrow was sacked 5 times. I mean, Jacoby Brissett threw for 278 and a touchdown, and Nick Chubb ran for 101 and 2 touchdowns. 32-13.
Because we all thought Jacoby Brissett would outplay Joe Burrow last night.
Sure, absolutely. Come on, who didn't see that coming? Burrow 0-4 against the team he grew up rooting for as a kid. And Stefanski's 5-0 against the Bengals in his career. Trade deadline's 4 o'clock today. The Bears, they just keep unloading good defensive players. Roquan Smith sent to the Ravens. Baltimore, they're looking at Roquan Smith, Mark, as kind of like a Von Miller pickup. Remember, Rams gave up a second and a third to get Von Miller for half a season. Ravens gave up a second and a fifth to do the same for Roquan Smith.
Would make the deal every single time if I'm the Ravens. I think this is fantastic for Baltimore. They get a stud that already seems like he's a Raven before he even gets there. And how is it, David, that the Ravens keep making tremendous deals and seem to take advantage of every team in the league? Trades, draft day, doesn't matter what happens. If there's a deal done involving the Ravens, they usually win the deal.
I do think the Bears got very good value because it was pretty well known that they weren't going to re-sign Roquan. So if you're the Bears, you got a second and a fifth for a guy that you're only going to have for 9 more games. I think that's a good deal. In other NFL news, Dolphins their starting left guard, Liam Eichenberg, he's, quote, going to miss some time, unquote. He was the one carted off with a leg injury, an MCL injury. Don't know if it's a sprain or a tear, but he has started all 8 games at left guard this year for the Dolphins, and he ain't going to be around for a while. Coming back for the Bills is Darius White. He's missed time since he tore his Achilles, but the thought is he may be back this week. But he is back practicing, and the Bills are optimistic he is ready to play. Remember, 4 o'clock today is the NFL trade deadline. Many times it takes about 45 minutes to an hour after the deadline to find out whether or not there was a last-minute deal. College football, bit of a surprise. Billy Napier dismissed Brenton Cox Jr. from the team. When asked why, he said, well, it wasn't one thing. It was a cumulative effort, unquote. But then he made no bones about it. He said, quote, the team got better today. Napier made no bones about it. This is addition by subtraction. Trey Dean, for one, took to Twitter the minute he heard that and in big, bold letters typed, this is false. Now, that tweet within a half an hour came down. But I found that to be interesting. Gator players, to a man, seemed shocked. Cox immediately declared himself for the 2023 draft. Sent out a nice thing about Florida and, you know, his experience and what the university meant to him, what have you. Didn't mention Napier, and said he was shocked by being dismissed. Speaking of being dismissed, Auburn finally put Brian Harsin out of his misery. He was fired. Mark, I'm trying to figure out, was he fired technically before they hired the new athletic director? Or John Cohen, who was hired yesterday from Mississippi State to be their athletic director, was he on the job 13 minutes and the first thing he did was fire Brian Harsin? I'm can't quite get the timeline. But Harsin went 9-12 at Auburn. Cadillac Williams will be the interim head coach for the rest of the year. Okay. You're the new AD at Auburn. I can give you Hugh Freeze. I can give you Bill O'Brien. I can give you Matt Rule. I can give you Lane Kiffin. Where are you going? And I can give you Dion. Those 5.
I'm the most interested in Lane.
Fair enough.
He's, I think, the youngest. Well, Dion might be a little bit, I want someone that I think that I can have for a while.
Well, that's
it's Auburn. I know.
First off, we're hoping to keep you around for a while. People you've got to answer to. But I'll tell you what. I mean, you're only a day on the job here. You are very optimistic. I am digging it. Way to go, Mark. So
it is Auburn after all.
Woo-wee. Michigan's Jim Harbaugh says he, quote, expects criminal charges, unquote, against some of the Michigan State players. It was Harbaugh who made no bones about it Saturday night. He said what just took place was assault. And a few people agree.
Hard not to from the video.
Well, and there was a second piece of video that emerged yesterday, which I could argue is worse than the first piece of video that many of us were shocked and appalled about. So, and apparently a fan who somewhere touched Mel Tucker and he took a swing at a fan. So this be interesting to see how far Michigan State, the Big Ten, never mind the fact that, one of the players who was assaulted has already hired a noted attorney and they're going to file suit. I mean, this is a mess. 4 Michigan State players have already been suspended. A lot of people saying it's not enough, that there's more guys. I mean, this is second straight Michigan home game in which, for whatever reason, teams have been going through that tunnel on and off the field for 100 years. Everything was fine. All of a sudden, Penn State, Michigan State, 2 times in the last 3 weeks. And, we got to do something about the tunnels and whatever. No, actually, how about if everybody just behaves themselves? Novel concept.
And Sparty embarrassing themselves on a national stage again. Congratulations.
Boy, last year seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Oh, boy.
Boy, could you have 2 years, any more polar opposite for Mel Tucker? But he got paid, Mark. I mean, what does he care? Georgia, likely without... Oh, I'm sorry. I heard feedback. Georgia, likely without top pass rusher Nolan Smith for the Tennessee game. He injured his shoulder against Florida. And the College Football Playoff Committee releases their first poll later today, 7 o'clock tonight, actually. Mark, people doing the forecasting think Georgia, Tennessee is going to be 1-2. In fact, some people think Tennessee may be 1. We'll see. 7 o'clock tonight. A little after that, Game 3 of the World Series scheduled to take place. It was rained out last night. They're going to play 3, 4, 5, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And now Friday is a travel day. If the series goes back to Houston, Games 6 and 7 are scheduled for Saturday and Sunday. Interesting scheduling note on Thursday, Game 5 of the World Series in Philadelphia between Houston and the Phillies. And that night, Eagles and Texans playing in Houston. That's a bit of a scheduling quirk. Justin Turner of the Dodgers won the Roberto Clemente Award for all of his off-the-field work. KD with 36. The Nets did not make Kyrie available to media afterwards because things are going so well for him in the last week. Nets improved to 2-5 with the 116-109 win over Indiana. Toronto blew out Atlanta by 30, worst loss for the Hawks in the last 3 years. Sixers have turned it around on this road trip. They beat Washington 118-111. Sacramento went into Charlotte, beat the Hornets 115-108. Very quietly, Mark, the Milwaukee Bucks are 6-0. 110-108. They held on to beat the Pistons last night. And Utah 6-2.
They were tanking, right?
Yes.
Right. 6-2.
Traded away their whole damn team.
Yep.
They're 6-2. They beat Memphis by 16 last night.
There's a meme about the Jazz where it's a picture of like 6 players from last year, and it says, "You just lost to none of these players."
Right. I mean, Danny Ainge's going to have to start trading some more guys. This is not working out.
We're supposed to be bad and bad now, damn it.
Right. Awful. We're supposed to be awful. We're supposed to have vaulted past bad. Paul George scored the last 5 points in the final 40 seconds. He beat the Rockets by himself, 95-93. Kawhi, by the way, has missed 6 straight games and is going to miss at least 2 more. His surgically repaired right knee stiffened up on him 2 weeks ago, and he has been unable to play since. And he's frustrated and even a little concerned. 3 hockey games last night. Mark, this is the night. Tage Thompson for the Sabres. 3 goals, 3 assists. Hello. That's street hockey numbers, baby. 8-3 Sabres scored the final 4 goals of the game against Detroit. Ovechkin, 785th goal last night, but the Hurricanes beat the Capitals in a shootout. Do you know they're only playing 3 division games? Like, these 2 teams don't play again until February. The Rangers only play the Islanders 3 times. They've already played their one and only game at the Islanders. The NHL's gone national. They want everybody to play everybody. So Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon show up at your arena. But to do that, you're only playing like the Panthers and the Lightning are playing like 3-4 times.
They'll change that.
Whew. I don't see how that's good for ticket sales.
Well, getting McDavid in every building and getting McKinnon in every building definitely is.
Kings beat St. Louis with 4 in the second, 5-1. And that, gentleman, was
That was the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
By the way, this is more of a me thing than a you thing, but in our Twitch chat room, a gentleman wondered, hey, first off, how much credit should we give Dave Dombrowski for this Phillies run? And B, is Dave Dombrowski now a Hall of Famer? Won a World Series running the Marlins. Took the Tigers to the World Series, 2 actually. Won a World Series with the Red Sox and was fired pretty quickly thereafter. And now he's taking the Phillies to the World Series. I mean, I know we think Theo Epstein's the greatest executive of the last 20 years, but I don't know. Dave Dombrowski's in the corner going, kind of like my resume.
I just keep going to World Series with different teams. Everywhere they send me, I take them to the final series. Won some, I've lost some, but I keep getting there.
Right. My teams are usually really good. And I've had some grease fires and made them good.
Miller and Moulton, David Samson coming up in a little more than a half an hour. Pat Kirwan, top of the 8 o'clock hour, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater. They've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I just sent you something.
Yeah, it works.
Marco the Great, there's no doubt they got to get one of them signed, and Roquan will be a lot easier than Lamar. Well, Klecko, that's part of Auburn's charm. Tuberville had one down year in a decade. They got rid of him. I mean, he beat Bama, what, 7 times in a row? First time he loses, they get rid of him. To win the national title 2 years later. They get rid of Chiswick 2 years after he wins a national title. They go to the title game in the first year with Gus. That's another thing about Gus. I mean, Gus recruited at a fine level at Auburn. I mean, beat Alabama 3 times. Went to Atlanta twice. I mean, we thought it was a great get for UCF. A great get when they got him. Yeah, but you're also going to get paid. So I would hire Lane. I'm with Mark. All in on getting Lane.
He's not the brash guy he once was either. I mean, he's still brash, but he's not as obnoxious as he once was. He's mellowed.
I think Lane has a Brian Kelly decision ahead of him. Brian Kelly took Notre Dame about as far as he thinks he could take them in this day and age, but I can compete for a national title at LSU. I can get close to a national title at Notre Dame, but I can't play for one or win one. I think Lane's got the same situation at Ole Miss.
10 seconds.
He can win a national title at Auburn. He can at Ole Miss.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this 1st of November. Hope you had a good Halloween, whether it was just hanging out at home and seeing how many people knocked on the door, or if you got dressed up, went out and about, did your thing. Whatever. However, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. David Samson in roughly 35 minutes.
David, I have a beef about Halloween.
Beg your pardon?
I have a beef.
When did this happen?
Last night.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a new thing, but I had the daughter, had my mom, the 3 of us in the golf cart doing the neighborhood. And Halloween basically shut down at 8 o'clock last night.
All right.
Doesn't even get dark until 7. You got an hour to do the whole neighborhood?
So you only started at 7?
Somewhere around there, 6:45 when it got dark.
Oh. So you don't start
trick-or-treating in the light?
Sure you do. No?
Little kids do. Little tiny kids go trick-or-treating in the light. My daughter was waiting for it to get dark. Go out with the big kids. And they shut it down early.
Well, the World Series is supposed to start at 8:03 and Monday Night Football at 8:15. I mean, we love our kids, but only to a point, Mark.
I don't know what's happening with 8 o'clock at night shutting down Halloween.
All right, let me ask you this. How late would you answer the knock on the door?
Not till 9.
Okay, so you'd go for another hour.
Yeah, I'd go out until I think 9's an acceptable time. I think 8 is a bit too early.
Remember, we're in Florida. I mean,
In fact, one shut down like literally right in front of my daughter. They had some blow up pumpkins and just basically, pulled the pin, everything deflated. It's like, sorry, you're out of luck. No more candy for you.
Oh, seriously? They said that?
We're done. We're done. Like right as we pull, we're done. Okay.
Wait. Did you say, hold on a second. Wait, there's a last call to Halloween candy? What?
I wasn't even taking any candy.
Wait. Listen, if you're going to do this last call thing, you got to turn the lights up or flick them. You got to give us a warning. You got to let us know. Hey, just so you know, last call. Come on now. Also, that's like the bar in which you know it's not closing time. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, and everybody knows you should still be serving me a drink. And they go, "No, man, we're done." And you go, "Hold on a second. It's not closing time."
And you can't put your lights on and not answer your door. You either go to complete blackness and darken everything and say, I don't participate in neighborhood deals.
Right.
Or if the lights are on, you're answering the door and you're giving something away.
Or put a sign on the door that says, "Sorry, we ran out of stuff." Okay. I can respect that. Guess I should have been here first. Okay.
But apparently we got to start a lot earlier now. We got to, 6 o'clock. Early bird Halloween in Florida.
Just so you know, my wife is one of those who could sit in. Now, she would probably turn out the lights to give the impression that we're not home. Okay. But my wife can be home and sit there and with the knock on the door and not answer it. Even on Halloween. That she has a clock in her head, Mark, in which it's last call. And whatever time that is, that's it. We're done serving. So I have to be the one if I'm home, and usually, I've been working a lot, but I have to be the one at home to grab the candy and go out and do it.
But an early Halloween last call last night, David. Pulling the plug early on the kids.
Johnny in our Twitch chat room says we shut down at 7. What? 7? What the heck? Come on, you can't shut down as the sun is setting. Johnny, come on, man. You guys got to have a meeting next year. You got to have a plan. You got to go to at least 8. Another Johnny in our Twitch chat room. Not answering the door is always awkward. Yes, it is.
Well, and you could see some people, like I'm out in the road and I could see the kind of shadow go by the door and they're like, oh crap, it's Halloween. And then they're running to or the one lady or man literally looked into the door, saw the little kid there and shut the light off on her.
Yeah. I mean, come on. My favorite is they've turned off all the lights in the house, but they're watching TV. And so you can see the glow and some of the shadows and the movement and the light change in the TV. Okay. And you're like, I know somebody's home. In fact, I think I can hear the TV.
It was awkward when my daughter's up at the door ringing the doorbell and I'm like, come on back. And she's like, no, I can see the television's on.
So did your mom get dressed up?
My mother got dressed up. She was a skeleton. My daughter was a black cat. They were quite a pair.
Wife stayed back at the ranch, correct?
She was handing out the candy.
How late did you hand out candy till?
When we came back at about 8:15, she had moved from the front porch to indoors, left the pumpkins out lit, left everything lit up at the house. So if someone knocked, but we did not get another knock after 8:15.
Man, your neighborhood shut it down early. People had money on the Bengals and the Browns. My goodness, you just because you have money on it doesn't the game's going to go on without you. Wow. But
So I was a little disappointed.
You didn't start till like 7?
Somewhere around there.
Wow. You've got a fairly big neighborhood.
I know we didn't even get to do the whole neighborhood. We got shut down. I'm telling you.
Well, but I mean, no offense, you got to start earlier.
So you're putting it on me. Now I will
Not
say
you. No, your daughter. No. It's your daughter. You would have done it. I know you. Besides, you got a golf cart. I mean, like it matters. We're going to play 9 or 18 today. I want to play 18. All right. I mean, that's all it would have been for you.
she did get quite a haul. She went with the pillowcase as opposed to the smart move is to go with the pillowcase. And she went alone, with just the two of us. A couple of her friends went to a different neighborhood. So it was just her going to the doors, which means you get more candy. If you're solo, people are going to give you more than if there's 3 kids there. 3 kids get 1 each. 1 kid might get all 3. She immediately went home, went to the scale and weighed the candy.
Oh, wow.
5.2 pounds of candy last night. I thought it was a pretty good haul.
That's pretty good for an hour. That's really good. What was the dominant item?
Reese's.
Well, once again, it did come out number 1 in the whole. They released the top 10 candies in terms of sales, and Reese's were number 1. Snickers was like 7. I think Skittles was second. Thought I saw that.
My mom likes the Mounds and the Almond Joy, so every time the daughter got a Mounds or an Almond Joy, it went right to my mother.
Oh, okay. Daughter was okay with that?
Yeah, not into the coconut.
Oh, all right. Good to know. Good to know.
Halloween recap for you, David.
Someone, Paul, in our Twitch chat room asking what was on the menu in the booth last night. There was no, that's not true. There were gummy bears, but there was not really Halloween candy. There were Halloween cookies, frosted Halloween cookies, ghosts and goblins and pumpkins and that sort of deal. They did do that, but there wasn't Halloween candy really in the booth last night.
Nope, just one Halloween character.
Right, just a Sully, which apparently, a lot of people are not familiar with.
Well,
I thought it was kind of a big deal, the whole Monsters Inc. thing, but then again, it is dated. It is 20 years ago.
Right, and those people that don't have kids or are past that probably.
Right. Well, and I guess the top, because, you only saw me from the upper chest to the top of my head. I guess the outfit wasn't, I don't know. I will say, if you saw me from head to toe, because it was a jumpsuit, you stepped into it and you pulled it up and it came all the way up over the shoulders. And then you put the thing on over your head. I also did have a tail. And so that was a lot of fun because I was asking people to put the tail on, and then Joe and Troy kept ripping the tail off. All right. And so they did. They would walk by and they would rip
Did
the
either
tail
of them
off.
take it off and hit you with it?
Troy did. And then Joe would just take it off, rip it off, and throw it on the floor. And so finally I said to him, just so you know, you do it one more time and I'm calling HR. I'm calling HR and I'm saying I can't get you two to stop touching my tail.
Oh, yep. It was a onesie.
Basically, yeah. You stepped into
onesie.
it. Yeah. Yeah. But if you saw me head to toe, I think you'd go, oh. But, you only saw me from kind of the armpits up. And so maybe it wasn't as. Plus, to have a headset on over the, top. I mean, I got the horn sticking out of the headset.
Did you scare any children on the way to or from the booth?
I did not walk to the stadium in costume. I brought the costume with me and changed. I didn't even walk through the press box in costume. I just saved it for the booth. It was for us. It was a morale thing, a celebrate Halloween, be in the mood, be lighthearted, the whole deal. So that was it. typical, you went trick-or-treating with your mom. Obviously, I did not spend yesterday with my mom. She was with, my wife and daughter and granddaughter. But so they put me on TV and I get a text from my mom that goes, "You look great. Why are you chewing gum?" I mean, of all the things, such a mom comment.
She's not going to give you a break, is she?
No. "You look great. Why are you chewing gum?" I don't know. So I have good breath in between Troy and John Perry. I don't know, Mom. I don't.
That's important. You're in close quarters.
Yes.
Halitosis could be bad for morale on the broadcast.
Correct. And I'm already dressed as Sully. I got to be careful here.
You are walking a fine line at that point.
When they first looked at me for a split second, I'm like, this could be my last game.
The outfit could have been bad, but as long as the hygiene was good,
right,
it helped out immensely. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Actually, Pat just texted he can do a video link today.
All right.
Remember, he thought he couldn't. He was going to be driving, but
sending it right now.
So my dad at 7:50 last night calls me and goes, "Do you know why Miami is the greatest city in the world?" And I go, "Tell me." He goes, "Well, we had some trick-or-treaters come by and I gave these candy to these adorable kids, and the dad said thank you so much for giving them extra candy." He realized the dad was Eric Spoelstra. And he had Eric Spoelstra trick-or-treating through our neighborhood.
That's cool.
And then like 2 minutes later, kids wearing Heat Halloween costumes were getting candy. And then he said, "Don't freak out, but Eric Spoelstra's that way." And they bursted away from the scene. Mark, have you ever heard of the rap group, the Migos?
I have not.
Migos, no? Dang. Never mind then.
Okay.
One of them was just killed. I'm very sad.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Let me guess, a shooting.
Yep, in Houston.
Yeah, Klecko was a bad hire. Not the Rays bench coach getting the Royals job. The Harsin to Auburn. It's funny how it's kind of like the couple that's getting married and everybody in the church knows this is not going to work out. Everybody knew Brian Harsin to Auburn was not a good fit, except the guy who hired him. Yeah, Klecko, Mark was talking about it yesterday. Think of the continued brain drain that the Rays as an organization have had in the last 3 years. No, RCB. Baseball doesn't have the compensation package for losing executives or front office people. I mean, the only compensation is free agents, right? You get a draft pick.
And their GM's still there, DC. They've just
Yeah.
lost their, essentially their bench coach, their AGM, the director of scouting.
Coming
And
back, guys.
the other side is, who do those guys take with them?
Right. Because they're all going to take at least one person.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David Samson, a little more than 15 minutes. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Joe Zagacki, longtime voice of the Canes, in a little more than an hour. So another terrific Tuesday lined up for you on this 1st of November here on Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark, I sent you a text, and let's face it, we spend a lot of time in and around each other. We don't necessarily always pay attention to the things that the other sends the other because, well, I get enough of him anyway. So I hope you saw the text that I sent you.
I did.
Was unaware of it until this morning, but apparently, as of 8 o'clock last night, our guy, Ross Chastain, is marketing his final lap maneuver at Martinsville. He's got a t-shirt. $28. You can get it through his official merchandise brand, which on Twitter is at Melon Man Brand. The shirt is a wall, and on the outside of the wall, it says, "Haul the wall." So I guess that's the slogan, "Haul the wall." And he's calling it, which I love, the Hail Melon. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
And then he's got, his face, which is, watermelon green, and his mouth is like watermelon red, and it's the shape of a watermelon. He's got a hat on, and so
his Melon Man logo, yes.
Right. So it went on sale as of 8:00 last night on his official, website and merchandise brand and all that. $28. I'm buying one.
I've never owned any NASCAR merch.
I know.
But I'm getting close.
Come on.
I will say, my son's turned into a bit of a gearhead. And one of a guy that kind of replaced my dad in his life as kind of like his grandfather. It's his cousin's father-in-law, and he works with him. But Billy is an old school gearhead. Billy's followed this sport. Billy's in his 70s, and he's followed this sport his whole life.
Uh-huh.
And when my boy texted me yesterday morning that Billy was just all amped up about what Ross Chastain did, it tells me that Kyle Larson's comments are out of bounds with the race fan. Kyle Larson, driver, thought it was bad for the sport. It's not bad for the sport. I mean, when a guy in his 70s who's a diehard gearhead thinks it's one of the best things he's ever seen in the sport, it can't be bad to me, David. It can't.
Ryan McGee, who you and I are big fans of, and we've been lucky enough to have him on the show about 10 times over the years. When Ryan McGee sends out a tweet and says, and he's in touch with the NASCAR community, knows a lot of people, and he said, my first response, the wave that I got, was people saying that's something Earnhardt would have done. And whenever a driver is getting compared to the 3-car, and we're talking about the 3-car when you know who was driving it, the hair on my arms, kind of raised up there when I saw that. I'm like, man, oh man, this guy was dead. Man, he worked so hard, and he was damn near going door to door to try to get sponsors and make this. And, we had him on the show regularly 2 or 3 years ago when he was, not on the main series, and he's got a chance to win a championship.
And got in it with an all-time move.
Yes.
And there's only one first. Someone may try this again. It may work again. It may not work again. But no one ever thought of it. Or if they did, no one ever had the guts to try to pull it off. And everything has to sync up for this to even come into place. And I still am waiting to hear, and they didn't really address it in his post-race interview, when he told anybody that he might pull this off, what they were thinking.
Chip Ganassi said it's the greatest thing. It's the second best, pass final lap thing he's ever seen. Now, Chip's a little biased. He hired Ross, the whole deal. And, Chip decided to get out of, NASCAR, basically, and Ross had to find the ride, and he ends up, thankfully, with Trackhouse Racing, and look at how it's going. But, Chip Ganassi's been around auto racing a little bit. Here's my question. Do you think NASCAR, because there are also people, Mark, like Kyle Larson, I mean, they don't think this is good, and they don't want to see it again. That, yes, what he did was legal, and NASCAR did use these words. There is nothing in the rule book that says he could not do that. But some people are now wondering, should something be put in the rule book so that never happens again?
So let me get this straight. Wait a minute. They're going to put something in the rule book that says you can't go as fast as is humanly possible on a racetrack. I just want to say that
I know.
for everybody to hear. Let's see. The name of the game is to go as fast as you can go, and we're going to put a rule in place that allows you to not go as fast as you can go.
Right. That's what I said to somebody last night. I go, it's racing. I mean, this would be like in boxing. Whoa. You can't hit that hard. Sorry. Nope. We've got to ban that. Wait, what?
No left hooks.
Right. I thought the object is for me to concuss him so he can't function for at least 10 seconds. Wait, what? NASCAR on Fox Twitter handle yesterday synced up Chastain with the Days of Thunder scene when Robert Duvall is insisting to Tom Cruise, you can hold the line on the outside, you can pass on the outside. You told me, Harry, never to pass on the outside. I am telling you now, you can pass on the outside. Remember, Fox is done with NASCAR in June, and they are loving this.
And I think on NBC, you will see this regularly as they get ready for Phoenix. It's all they will show for highlights getting ready for the Phoenix race. What else would you show?
I mean, it was a clutch maneuver.
Yes, it was.
What do you got today, Felipe?
Well, the Clippers were 2-4 before last night, and they really needed a win. So Paul George was just like, I'm going to do it myself.
4 to shoot. George spinning right. 3 to shoot. Step back. 20-footer. Oh! Paul George makes it rain. Clippers in front. 95-93. Paul George, a god amongst men. He is rated R on this Halloween night in downtown Los Angeles.
PG-13, rated R last night. 35 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 6 steals. Clippers are 3-4.
That's Noah Eagle sounding an awful lot like Ian Eagle.
A man amongst a god amongst men, huh?
Right. That I know.
A little much for
it is for
Halloween. Sorry, game 7. Okay.
Now the rated R was a great line. The line after that was terrific. You know, PG-13. Paul George is number 13. Rated R. That was terrific.
Yes.
But yes, a god amongst men. It's the 7th game of the year, and you're hosting the Houston Rockets,
and you're not 500,
right? And neither are they.
But
okay, all right.
It's a clutch play. It was a clutch call, and it is our clutch play of the day. Clutch vodka available at Total Wine, and check them out at Seaside Bar and Grill for the Dolphins watch parties each week. Clutch vodka with those great Bloody Mary bars at Seaside, and make sure you are moving to Clutch vodka today. Miller and Moulton. David Samson is next, talking the World Series right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online
SWFLGolfCarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing excellent, thank you. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you. I just finished watching the new Billy Corben movie that dropped on Hulu today called God Forbid.
How is it?
It's something.
I told David, we've had him on a bunch over different things that he's done, and he's been really good to us. And I'm like, I text David, I said, do we want to get Corbin on again? Because this really isn't a sports topic, but boy, oh boy, it's a dandy.
It's a dandy, all right.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's definitely a liberally slanted piece of filmmaking, but it is the facts are the facts are the facts, and you can't hide the facts, and it's just up to people whether they're okay with it, because there's millions of people who are okay with what the Falwells do and what the Falwells stand for, but it certainly gives you a space in which to make an informed decision.
Well, good. That might be afternoon watching today.
It's worth it. It's an easy watch. It's only 109 minutes, and it goes by, I guess, in 109 minutes, but it's quick. Goes by in 20 minutes.
David, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In the mid-2000s, did you guys try to implement the orange that the Marlins marketed into the uniforms before the Miami Marlins? Like, was that ever a consideration?
You talking about when we switched to Miami Marlins in 2011?
No, I'm saying before you switched to Miami Marlins, a lot of the stuff that you would market would have orange in it.
No. So we weren't thinking about the new logo at that time, or that we would even be the Miami Marlins at that time. That didn't start till 2009 when we started developing the new uniform, 2008, 2009. So if you're talking before then, no. If you're talking after then, yes.
I see. Oh, also, what can you tell me about the infamous Vuvuzela Florida Marlins game?
It was an idea I had that didn't work. Not the first, not the last.
I was at that game, by the way.
The minute the game started, I knew I had a problem. I was in the clubhouse immediately at the end of that game because the players were so angry.
Well, didn't baseball ban vuvuzelas?
That was it. One and done. I got a call from the commissioner's office, had to deal with my players. The owner was pissed. It was a nightmare. And I took the blame, as I should. It was I agreed to it.
In the moment, those things always sound good from some marketing intern, don't they?
I was trying to recreate a better atmosphere, a Latin American atmosphere, a Dominican atmosphere like we would have at the World Baseball Classic. And it just didn't occur to me how it would sound with 5,000 people there.
Well, also, wasn't that around the time of the World Cup in South Africa?
I don't recall the causation there, but that certainly could have been it. I mean, listen, I was not the first. I didn't invent vuvuzelas. God, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Thanks a lot. Good morning to you too.
That's what happens when you let the producer start asking questions, David.
All right, we got 15 seconds.
Can you guys see and hear me?
Yep.
Perfectly.
Okay. It's weird.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. And on Tuesdays for the last, 8+ weeks, David Samson's been kind enough to join us. He of the daily podcast called Nothing Personal with David Samson, NPDS, Nothing Personal with David Samson. He also talks baseball and life and the pursuit of happiness with CBS Sports HQ and CBSSports.com. And you can follow David on Twitter at David, the letter P, Samson, David P. Samson. David, thanks for your time once again. How are you?
I am doing great. Good morning to you.
Before we get to the World Series, so Manfred comes out over the weekend and nonchalantly says, yeah, I think the A's are going to Vegas. Well, we've been interested in this because we, for whatever it's worth, we said, listen, we got two situations here. They got to resolve both of them before they expand and get the two extra teams and the $3 to $4 billion in fees. Well, if the A's situation now is basically done, all right, then now Tampa Bay is on the clock? And you've been through this, a new stadium and how long it takes and all that. And their lease goes for 5 more years. So what does that mean? Do they have 2 years, 3 years? If you were the Rays, how long do you think you have to get a deal before your lease expires?
Until the day your lease expires, and even then it can be extended. So let me just say that how this works. The reason that the Oakland A's and Rob Manfred, the commissioner, discussed them this weekend is that there's a much bigger time crunch in Oakland than there is in Tampa, sadly, because you've been going through this for so many years that you would think that Tampa is acute, but it is not. And the reason why the situation in Oakland is so much worse is that the players and the union cannot stand that stadium. It's number 30, and Tampa, the Trop, the Thunderdome, is number 29, but there's a huge gulf between 29 and 30. So that's the first issue. The second issue is the Oakland A's organization has a deal with baseball. The ownership, John Fisher, has a deal with baseball, the other owners, as it relates to his receiving revenue sharing. He didn't receive revenue sharing for many years. Then he started receiving again, and he's not going to be receiving every year going forward, as opposed to Stu Sternberg, who does receive revenue sharing every year. So the Oakland A's situation has got to resolve itself first, which is why Rob spoke about it in that way this weekend.
They don't want these teams. I mean, and it looks like they may move to Vegas, but in a perfect world, they want these teams to stay there because the expansion fees are so lucrative to the owners, right, David?
Yeah, there's no question. I do not take, because what Rob said, as gospel. That doesn't mean the Oakland A's are moving to Vegas. Not even close. He was saying those things to try to get Oakland and the politicians going a little faster and giving a little more in order to get a deal done that is more acceptable to both baseball and the owner of the A's. So do not start buying season tickets in Vegas. And at the same token, do not believe when he said, hey, we were excited about Tampa. We have great belief that a deal's going to get done in Tampa. That doesn't mean that people should get cocky in Tampa thinking that it's done there either. So this is just another step in the leverage game. Sometimes you employ the commissioner. Sometimes you do it as an owner. Sometimes you do it with someone who's in the community. You're always looking at different touch points to get the same message out to politicians, which is, hey, step up right now.
David, does Major League Baseball as a business, not as a sport, because we know, the Marlins have fans. The Rays have terrific local TV and radio ratings. But as a business, does Major League Baseball work in Florida?
Well, so far not, and that's something that Bud Selig to this day will tell you is baffling and upsetting to him, even when I try to explain why that is. And the DMA in Miami, as an example, and I'll speak more about where I was for so many years, it's a highly ranked DMA, meaning you get a decent TV deal in theory, and you've got a lot of wealth. But here's the problem. That wealth is there for 6 months and 1 day a year. And the summer is not the season where the people are there. In addition, in Miami, you do not have a large corporate base. So the corporate revenue for the Marlins baseball team is de minimis compared to the corporate revenue for other teams that you would think are low-revenue teams, like a Minnesota, for example, which blows the Marlins away in corporate revenue. Tampa is way more than Miami. And when baseball moved to Florida, the thought was, hey, it works in spring training. How could it not work with permanent teams? But that was forgetting the fact that it was mostly visitors who were making up the attendance in spring training and not locals. So it's always been a problem, but baseball is not willing to lose Florida as a market. But as a business, it's never been proven to work at all.
Do you think, and I know you can only speak from working in Miami, but do you think Tampa, do you think it's as simple of them going across the bay and in Tampa and fans will be there? Do you think it's that easy? Because a lot of people do.
I know they do, and it makes me smile because everyone who says that is just someone who's never run a team before, a baseball team. So what they do in Tampa, this is my favorite. They say, it's got to be Stu's fault, right? Sell it to Vinnick. Look what he did with the Lightning. That is the most valuable team. They sell out. They win Stanley Cups. There's development around it. He should just buy the Tampa Bay Rays, and all will be well in the world. Well, I have news for you. That's not exactly accurate. Owning a baseball team in Tampa is completely different than owning a hockey team. And while you could say it's a great hockey market, it as a baseball market during the summer, as successful as the Rays have been, Tampa is way more despondent. Baseball is way more despondent about Tampa than they are about Miami because Tampa's won. At least in Miami, you get to say they never win. Let's see what happens if they win, if people will come. In Tampa, they win all the time and people still don't come. So that has a cause for great concern for Major League Baseball.
And the reason that I asked the business question is because in theory, the business has to work so that you can spend a little bit of money. And I mean, every now and then you need to buy a player or you need to be able to keep a guy because you really don't want to lose them. And that's the thing. If I'm a Rays and a Marlins fan, I'm like, man, if the business model is never going to work, well, then we're just going to be on the same conveyor belt for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to tell you that's not exactly how baseball looks at it. They're looking at it from a different point of view, which is what do we have to do to get the Tampa Bay Rays off the revenue-sharing gravy train, right? That big difference in local revenue. We're trying to keep the band much tighter. And when you've got a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees where they're making 10x local revenue and a team like the Rays and the Marlins who are so far below the industry average, you're trying to bring everybody up, bring the average up in the industry for revenue. Now, will that have a concomitant increase in payroll? Maybe, maybe not, but that's certainly not one of the goals of baseball is to get the Rays payroll higher. That is a misdirection if that's what you actually believe. It's to get their revenue higher, and what they do with the revenue is totally up to them.
No, I was just speaking as a fan. If I'm a fan, it's like, man, we're going to be what? We're going to be in the $60 to $80 million payroll forever. I mean, when do we get to keep, when do we get to keep our elite player as opposed to having to sell them at maximum value, et cetera?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. I obviously understand the words you're saying. You guys have been so successful. The Rays have the best front office in baseball. You're competing for a playoff spot all the time. You make it deep playoff runs. You have exciting players to watch. Of course, players move on. By the way, the Yankees have players who move on. Every team has players who move on. So I'm trying to understand what fans in your area really have a problem with, because that front office has done everything to make it an exciting team year after year.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question. All right, let's move to the World Series. How much did this postponement of last night's game help out the Phillies, David?
I think it helped out both teams. So for the Phillies, it certainly enables them to not pitch Syndergaard in Game 3. They get to go with Ranger Suarez, who's a more legitimate starter. He's a bottom of the rotation starter, a 4 on a good team, and he's a 3 on the Phillies. It also enables the Astros to rest their bullpen arms. This time of year, everybody's tired, and you heard the Phillies say that Zach Wheeler can't go until Game 6 because of fatigue, because he could have been in line to go Game 5 given this postponement. And I guess the Phillies are hoping and assuming there'll be a Game 6 back in Houston. But anytime there's a rain out and a postponement during the postseason, it's very annoying to sponsors, to fans, to broadcasters, but it is extremely awesome to front offices and to players.
Wheeler only threw 69 pitches in Game 2. He'd have 4 full days of rest, and he could pitch at home in Game 5. And, either way, they're going to be up 3-1 with a chance to win the World Series. They're going to be 2-2 last home game. Certainly don't want to go to Houston down 3-2, or they're going to be facing elimination. I mean, I don't see a scenario where of course you'd rather have him have more rest, of course. But, I mean, come on, man. This is the World Series. This might be our only crack at this sucker. I got to pitch Nola on 4 days rest in Game 4 and Wheeler on 4 days rest in Game 5.
It's not even a question for me. So the disappointment, it happened with Scherzer a little bit in L.A. when he had arm fatigue and couldn't pitch. And it's a real thing, arm fatigue. I've been around pitchers where they just can't do it, and your evaluation of them is that Zach Wheeler with arm fatigue, with his velocity down, getting tagged for 5 runs is going to be less effective than Syndergaard twice through the lineup and then going into our bullpen. That's sort of the calculus that you do. So you can't think of it like Zach Wheeler, the shutout ace who can go 8 innings. The shutdown ace, right? You have to look at it as a pitcher who is not the person you think he is. And that's a tough realization. It's a reflection of a long season. It's a reflection of these guys have been throwing since February. Spring training was February. We're in November now, right? Next year starts. It's the craziest thing. We have December, January without baseball, and then players report mid-February. There's no off season. It's not next year. It's see in 2 months. It's like 70 days. So it's a major thing, the length of the season.
Is there anything that could upset this from the standpoint? Could Wheeler come in and say, I'm ready, Skip, let me throw? Would that change anything if the pitcher himself wanted to come in and pitch on a day's rest? Or do you think these lineups are pretty much set, David?
Yeah, they're set. So pitchers, it's like when managers tell you, yeah, I went out to the mound to see whether or not he could give me another out. There's no pitcher in the history of pitching who says to the manager, oh, man, take me out. I'm done. They always say, oh, I got one more, Skip. I'm good. I'm ready to go. No, you do not rely on the pitcher. You rely on your eyes. You rely on the numbers. You look because you know your pitcher better than anybody, better than anyone in the media, any fan. You've been living with him. You know exactly his arm angle. You know exactly his body language. You know what he does between innings in the dugout, where he sits, what he's drinking. It's just a so obvious when a pitcher's done that if you decide that Wheeler is not your best option, that's why you're not pitching him. It's not that Wheeler said, I want to pitch in Game 5, and the Phillies said, no, we're going to hold you till Game 6. That is not accurate.
He's David Samson. His daily podcast is Nothing Personal with David Samson, and he also does work for CBS Sports, cbssports.com, CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. I'm fine with the Braves won the World Series last year, winning 89 games, and the Phillies could win it this year, winning 87. As a 6 seed, though, obviously we've never had that before. Do you think baseball is okay if the Phillies win the World Series?
So by baseball, if you mean the commissioner's office, the answer is yes. If you mean other owners, the owners of the 100-win teams are not happy that Phillies are in the playoffs and not happy that the Phillies are in the World Series, but it's also 1 year. So the way we deal with owners like that is we just say, listen, we don't really know exactly what expanded playoffs are going to mean. This year, there were not great competition. Sort of the best race was Atlanta, New York for the NL East, and it didn't really matter. They both got eliminated rather quickly. So we're going to let this play out over a couple of years, and then we'll think about it when the next collective bargaining agreement comes. But if you continue to have 100-win teams lose early and you continue to have 87-win teams make the playoffs and make runs like this, you could have owners of the large revenue teams get disappointed. The good news is there aren't 8 of them. And to change any rules to block anything in Major League Baseball, you need 8 owners to block, like Paul Lynde in Hollywood Squares, if that can be a boomer reference of the morning.
Wow.
And so I don't think that MLB or Rob Manfred is concerned about a block of 8 right now. And so he's fine. He just wants a 7-game series.
All right, 30 seconds. It's now a best of 5, and the Phillies have home field. Who do you like?
I said the Astros in 6 from the beginning. Well, first I said the Braves over the Blue Jays, so forget that. When this World Series started, I had the Astros in 6. In order for the Astros to win in 6, the Phillies have to win 2 games, and I still think that'll be the case. I like the Astros in 6.
David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, and hopefully you'll join us again next Tuesday before we put the baseball season to bed.
Looking forward.
David Samson, Nothing Personal with David Samson is his daily podcast. And it's an elite podcast nominated for many awards. You can follow him on Twitter, David P. Samson. David, the letter P. Samson.
Pat Kirwan coming up at the top of the hour. We will switch from the baseball diamond to the football field and talk about the week that was in the National Football League with Pat coming up in just a few moments. I want to thank you for listening. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do we have a poll question?
No. No. Matter of fact, David, we don't.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, boys.
So I found out we have another mutual friend, or not mutual friend, but my daughter's playing soccer with Ryan Vessey's daughter.
Oh, yes.
So I spent all Saturday morning talking to him.
He's a good guy.
What a nice guy.
Yep. He's got ambition now. He's got a big project going on with mentoring. Getting ready to put some money into that. Before we go any further, did I see someone in a costume last night? I
did.
almost fell off my chair. What were you?
I was Sully from Monsters, Inc.
I didn't know what that outfit was. And I said, I didn't know he's a member of the Ku Klux Klan, but maybe he is.
Wow.
You are something else. When I just turned my head and I saw you out of the corner of my eye, I go, what the heck? What possessed you?
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Halloween, and, let's keep it festive and what have you. And Joe is always talking about, let's have fun, let's have fun. And I knew they were going to do the Blazers. The old Monday Night Football, ABC Wide World of Sport Blazers. And Joe had even talked about finding like a 1970s style shirt and tie, all those stripes and checkers and plaids. And so then, John Perry talked about wearing an official's top, and Fida, the stats guy, was going to wear an outfit. He swore to me, this is the outfit I've got. My wife's wearing hers. I'll wear mine. Great. Couple other people in the booth, the whole deal. Nobody wore anything.
Yeah, no kidding. I saw that.
Right.
You're telling me something. I was in shock that you were flying solo on this.
And so, I brought the costume and I said, guys, I promised my daughter and granddaughter I was doing it. And I said we were doing this, right? And so just because you guys chickened out. So at about 7:15, 7:30, I put the costume on and turned around, and I got to tell you, Joe was damn near speechless. I was shocked. Troy loved it, which I did not expect at all. I thought Troy was going to hire my replacement before the game was over. Troy loved it. Took pictures with me.
Your FaceTime went way up with that on.
And
I'm telling you.
And Joe was just confounded, kind of like, wow, I can't believe you're doing this. Because it also was head to toe, Pat. It was a onesie, basically. I put it, I stepped into it.
So my wife saw it too, and she said, "Is that your friend Dave?" I go, "Yes." I think it is. He used to be my friend. I'm not sure right now, but then the first thing she asked after I identified and agreed that was you, she wanted to know if you left the hotel in that outfit.
No.
I go,
no.
Now that I see him in this, I can't answer that, Janet. He might have come from the hotel in it.
No, because we walked and it's about 3/4 of a mile. I did not wear the costume either way.
How about those Browns?
Oof, what a game. Oof.
Good
one for them, but
15
they
seconds.
really have enough talent to be in this thing.
I know, but they've screwed it up.
10 seconds. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, we're in the final hour of Miller and Moulton for those in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, halfway home for those in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Joe Zagacki, longtime voice of the Canes, to join us in a little more than 35 minutes time. It's Tuesday, 8 o'clock. That means Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. Monday through Friday, 3 to 7, Moving the Chain. Saturdays, 2 to 5. Pat joined us courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. All right, Pat, 8 weeks in the books. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and we're down to the 11th hour here in the trade deadline business. I know this is right up your alley, David, but it has to be trades for you to feel like it's Christmas morning. So I'm not so sure we'll see more than maybe two. That's about it. It kind of cooled off a little bit, but we all saw the dividends of McCaffrey. That might get someone over the top going, are you kidding me? Look what he did for a team. I'd be after Kareem Hunt. And that'd be the guy that I think, and I'll tell you who should go after him. And I don't think anyone's talking about it. They didn't do it on my show. Tennessee. You can't keep giving Derrick Henry 32 touches a game. This is their formula every year to win the division, but they fizzle out at the end. The kid can't keep doing this. He's had 95 touches in 3 games. The last 3 weeks, 95 touches. And I know they have to. That's why I would go get Kareem Hunt and give him 12 carries a game. Forget who they say the backup is. They obviously don't trust him. Kareem Hunt would be perfect for them, but something's got to happen like that. Otherwise, they're going to get the same thing. Win the division with 11 wins and then fizzle out in the playoffs.
You think Chubb's going to get moved out of Denver today?
He should, and I don't think Hackett has any say over what they're going to do there. Do I think he's going to do it? Well, what I did hear was that the first round pick that was supposedly on the table that Adam was talking about was for the 2024 draft. I don't know that they take that.
Heck, I wonder if they even bail on Randy Gregory this soon into that deal, quite frankly. The word supposedly is they're going to hold on to the wide receivers, but maybe guys on the other side of the ball are available. Pat, you know my feeling. All right, but there's like a lot of teams like Cleveland with Conklin, the tackle. Well, hell, they played 3 other linemen last night, 2 of them a lot. I mean, if you're Cleveland, do you gain some assets here? Do you maybe use Conklin to get something else that you feel you need? I mean, do you, by the way, if you're Cleveland, trade Kareem Hunt, or do you only trade him if you can get a 4th or better for him? You know, I mean, but to me, there's 8 to 12 moves that to me should happen for a lot of day 3 draft choices today.
Well, you got to believe your team is out of it completely. And you know the message being sent to the veterans, so that's always a problem. If I'm in Cleveland, I'm taking advantage of Billy Callahan, the O-line coach. That guy develops players. And he put those extra linemen on the field last night. Yeah, one was a fullback, one was the wing back who went in motion. But Billy Callahan loves to develop players. And when you have a coach like that, one of the advantages is to keep turning over that group because he'll bring in some young ones that can function. So, yes, I would move the right tackle. And I don't know if the price has to be right. Look, if we're looking for the prices right, nothing's going to happen today. The 11th hour works both ways.
And that's the thing. And it's so fun because as we went through the exercise a couple of weeks ago when David was trying to get Zagacki for Tampa and you were playing the role of the Dolphins GM, I do think that's what happens. And GMs are afraid to lose a trade, and we end up not getting the number of deals that we should because GMs are just simply afraid to be on the wrong end of a deal.
They are. And, Zagacki, I'm glad it looks like he's not going anywhere, but the Dolphins think they're good enough to make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. Zagacki has had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, and he's caught, I think, 15 balls. I know he was targeted about 18 times. So he's starting to become part of that offense, and I don't think they'd be crazy to move away from him right now. So, and the last thing I say is the tight end franchise tag is the cheapest tag of everything but kickers. So if he keeps going the way he's going and ends the year with 10 touchdowns, just franchise tag him.
Well, they tagged him for this year at 10-9, so it would be,
12.
probably in maybe even 13, for next year. Your thoughts on the Roquan Smith trade? This looks and smells a lot like what the Rams did last year. The Rams gave up a 2nd and a 3rd for Von Miller for half a season. The Ravens give up a 2nd and a 5th for Roquan Smith, who's an unrestricted free agent, and they only have 1 tag, and it looks like Lamar's heading to a tag, so this may be a rental. Your thoughts on the trade?
Well, I think there's mixed opinions about Roquan. There are people that don't like him, and there are other people that think, he's a really good linebacker. So the first question I have and I asked Jimmy Miller, who sees Roquan every week and talks to him a lot, is he mentally ready to take on a new defense as the Mike backer and call the defense? It's one thing to line up as the Will and be the run and hit guy, and you know how to do that. But when you're the Mike and they're trading the tight end and they're shifting exploding formations and they're emptying out the backfield, all that stuff requires checks. And they didn't like Patrick Queen doing it. So now you got Queen next to him, who's making those calls. So that'd be my first challenge. But in regards to getting him, Baltimore is known for defense, and their defense isn't very good right now. And Roquan, they started blitzing him a little bit more in the last couple of weeks, and they see the pass pressure skill set there to get him on the field.
Well, Pat, I got to be honest. I like Roquan Smith rushing the passer right now more than I do as a middle linebacker. I think he's a lot like Jalen Smith was a couple years ago. He makes a lot of tackles, but they're 5 to 7 yards down the field. But rushing the passer, he's a force.
Yeah, and I think they see those skills, and they need those skills, and they want them, so they've got them. And look, Ozzy's still around that building. He's not gone. So Ozzy has great relationships around that place with agents and everybody else. And I don't think they gave away the 2 without thinking we're going to get him signed. That's where I think the 2 tells me they got a plan and they're going to enforce it, and he's going to be there.
I want to go back to the Dolphins and just your thoughts on Tua, the second half, the comeback against the Lions. A win on the road is a win on the road in the National Football League. And Tua keeps winning, Pat.
Yeah, I like Tua. I don't know if I love him. He's indicating at times now, tearing up the Detroit defense. I wasn't going to do that out of respect for where you come from, Mark. But if you want me to, we can blow it up if you care for me to do it. But it was a fine performance. He's had a number of them. They haven't lost when he starts games. So all things are in the right place for them to think he's the future. And in the future also involves the present. And their aspirations are for playoff and a win. And he looks to me like he's heading towards that. But you can't weaken this team. I would be out looking for more help, personally.
Did it surprise you that apparently the Bills, they tried to pry Kamara away? They were in the McCaffrey sweepstakes. They're clearly, we all know they haven't won the final game of the year, and they think this team can. Are you surprised? Because this is not, they did go and trade for Diggs and give up a 1 and signed him to big money. But for the most part, they don't do aggressive things like this. Are you surprised that they're really trying to?
Yeah, I know that they know they're ready. And we all know the bitter taste they had in their mouth at the end of last season. They've done everything since that last game with Kansas City to be ready for Kansas City. And everyone kind of thinks it's heading towards those 2 again anyway. And now, I've already mentioned Hunt for Tennessee, but even more important that Buffalo would be in on him. That guy can line up as the X. He can line up in the slot. He's a tremendous change of pace back, and he's explosive as could be. He's a big play waiting to happen. That's the guy they should go after now. And if it's only a 4th, which has been reported, which I never believe the reports, then it's a bargain. What are you worried about? How you get another 4th? You take your 3rd and you move down 10 spots and they give you a 4th. It's easy to recoup the pick.
You mentioned Tennessee making a move to try to do something in the playoffs, and you just talked about Kansas City and Buffalo. Is there an AFC team that you think could make a move? If the Dolphins make a move, how close are they to those 2 teams? If Cincinnati, Baltimore just made a move, what move can an AFC team make to try to get with those top 2?
Well, if you don't have an elite quarterback, you're dealing with having to play great defense, because especially Kansas City and Buffalo, they can score, and they can score a lot of points. So you've got to be good on defense. And I don't think there's a corner out there that you can get. So if you can't get a corner, try for a pass rusher. And I'm surprised the Rams haven't panicked about their situation. But in the AFC, I asked this question yesterday on the air and I got no response that I felt good with. Who's the 3rd best team in both conferences?
Well, I don't think you'll like my answer in the NFC, because I actually I don't think Minnesota's in the top 3.
Me
I
neither.
actually I think that Dallas and San Francisco, I would bet on them to win playoff games today before I would bet on Minnesota to get to the conference championship game.
Yep, and I had San Francisco ahead of Dallas, and Jimmy had Dallas ahead of San Francisco. But we finally, the two of us, agreed on those 3, obviously with Philly. But in the AFC, to Mark, who's the 3rd best team?
Baltimore?
And I love your conviction.
Yeah.
Baltimore? I hear you. You could probably make a case for about 4 or 5 teams, but no conviction with any of them.
And I'm sorry, Mark. I think it's Baltimore. I mean, they've lost their 3 games by, they had the lead late in all 3. I think their ceiling is the highest, I think Baltimore can go to Buffalo and compete. I don't think the Dolphins can go to Buffalo in January and stay within 30. Okay. Now I think they could go to Kansas City and kind of play with the Chiefs, but I'm trying to think who can go to Buffalo, Mark, in the division round and give the Bills a game. And I think Baltimore's the only one right now that can do it.
Yeah. How about Cincinnati? They looked terrible last night, but they were missing both defensive tackles inside that stopped the run. And it was pretty clear Chubb was having a day with it. But that is Burrow and those receivers. I'm not sitting here trying to sell them to you, but it's a debatable point about the 3rd.
He's Pat Kirwan, joining us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers, with locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Miller and Moulton, more with Pat Kirwan on the other side, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat, Adam, our resident Jags fan, wants to know, do you have any words of encouragement for a demoralized Jags fan?
Yeah, stick with Trevor Lawrence. He's really disappointing you right now, but I don't think he's that far off, and I think he will get his act together in the next year or so, and you'll be happy you got a 10-year quarterback. But the mistakes he's making late in games are frustrating, and they've got a chance to win these games. Little surprised they moved James Robinson. Didn't think that was necessary to do, but I just think Trevor at times has the glimpses of a really, really good player. So I don't think they're that far off.
Pat, Mark was the first one to make this comparison, but he said, if you look at Trevor Lawrence and his numbers and what have you, and looked at Josh Allen's first 2 years. Now, Josh won a few more games, but, it wasn't until year 3 that Josh Allen became Josh Allen. And, oh, by the way, in year 3, what did they get him? Stephon Diggs.
Yes. And you're right. The first 2 years, was he a maverick? Was he over his head? Was he just an athlete trying to play quarterback? But then, it only took the 1 year for them to jump all over him with that mega deal, because they did that whole deal right after that. So, yeah, I think there's a reasonable comparison there, and they're both really good athletes. When I see Daniel Jones now running the ball the way he does, strategically but effectively, I think there's a little more of that for Trevor as well. You need to start using your athleticism while you're learning how to play this thing the right way. There's a couple times in the game you watch him and you go, you could have walked in for a first down, but you threw a bad pass instead. And Daniel Jones, to me, and it's because Dable went there and he had all that success with Allen. Pete Carroll, I said it to you guys the other day. Pete says the guy's starting to remind me of Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, because of the way they're using the run. And we're actually having conversations now about defending him, which we never thought we were going to have. So I think you'd like to think Trevor could get into that kind of conversation where his run element was a factor, at least for the next year or two while he's getting the other stuff squared up.
A Bucks fan wants to know, Pat, if you were the Bucks and you could plug one hole today, what would it be?
The offensive line. It's not good enough. They can't. I talked to Todd Bowles yesterday. Todd, I said, Todd, I'm going to be blunt. You need to be running 9-on-7 every day. He goes, Pat, we're running run team period, ones-on-ones, trying to get the run game going. So when I know the commitment from the coaches there, and I know the back is good enough, Lenny's good. It's the line. And so they need lineman help. And it would be great if they could find, which they can't, one big-time guard like Alan Faneca type and start running the ball behind that guard all the time. Pull him when he's running the other way and run right behind him when he's on that side. I mean, when Carroll went to the Super Bowl, they ran the ball behind Alan Faneca 90% of the game every week. So that's what they need, a war daddy at guard.
I'm really surprised that the Bucks haven't been able to talk some of these linemen who retired out of retirement.
Yes.
Or like Incognito, to be honest with you. The Tampa Bay Bucks need Richie Incognito so badly. And you could say to him, Richie, it's 6 games. We'll sign you now. We'll give you 3 weeks to get in shape. We need you for 6 games in the playoffs. I don't think Richie ever won a ring. I mean, come on, Richie. What do you say?
I don't think it's that hard to talk to Richie like that. The problem is, aren't his rights owned by the Raiders?
I don't know. But I don't think they want him.
Yeah. When they start looking at themselves, if you want to play, Rich, you can play here.
Yeah, true.
Ooh.
Shutout. Did anyone see the shutout coming?
No, I picked Vegas, for crying out loud.
So did I.
So did I.
Yes. Viva.
Tell you what, unfortunately, for Dennis Allen, Todd Bowles, Josh McDaniels, we all thought they were all stepping into good situations for their second go around, and they're all really struggling.
Here we go.
Yeah. Todd and Dennis still think they can win the division.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Our remaining 10 minutes with Pat Kirwan on this Tuesday. Joe Zagacki to join us in nearly 20 minutes. It is Florida State Miami week, after all. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com.
Pat, we've got the AFC East and the NFC East that neither division has a team below 500. Are you buying into the Patriots at all? Are you buying into the Commanders at all? Do you think there's more there than meets the eye?
I don't, I will say this. I don't think so with Washington, But I do like that Heineke's under center, and I'd almost think you should keep Heineke even when Wentz comes back. The guy has a spark. McLaurin comes alive whenever Heineke's on the field. He's willing to run, and he's willing to be a leader. And I think he's not uncomfortable. He's comfortable out there, and he knows he's the best quarterback on the team. I'd stick with him, but I don't think they're going to make it. Now, the other guys, Belichick, he knows how to let you lose the game. So he gets enough games like that where he can outcoach some people. They might be it. If they could get in, I think the 7th team in the AFC is going to be hard. It's going to be a 10-win team, I think. We've talked about this before. In the NFC, the 7th team could be a guy with a losing record, but I don't think it'll be Washington.
Right now, the Niners are the last playoff team in the NFC at 4-4. And the LA Chargers are technically the 7th seed at 4-3. You got the Patriots and the Bengals who are 4-4. So that's kind of your line of demarcation if you're thinking about where your team is and are they in. 4-4 and 4-3 right now in the two conferences are the last team. Is Heineke a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Kind of. A gamer. He goes in the huddle. I promise you, in the huddle, when the team sees him come in, they like what they see. They like him. They have memories of the way he plays. It doesn't mean they're going to win all the time, but they think he's tough, and they think he knows how to get the ball to the best players. So you can give all the speeches you want as a coach. The players believe in that guy, and they would understand why you draft one in the first round. They get it. So does Heineke. But as it relates to Wentz, I don't know. You tell me. Can you go back to Wentz?
No, because he can't extend plays, Pat. He's a statue back there. At least Heineke can extend some plays. He moves around a little bit. To me, Pat, how much room is there for statues in the pocket anymore? Unless you're getting rid of, unless you're the Brady's that's getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds every single time, there's not a lot of room for guys that stand back there.
No, I think athletes, there's been a lot of athletes who've played quarterback. This is not the new era. We had Steve Young and guys like that. So, but do I think it's a benefit? It's an absolute benefit to the young guys who don't know what they're looking at yet. If they can't move their feet and they're throwing these kids on the field as rookies, if they're not athletic, they're not buying time to do anything. So I look at Wilson, and he can move around, and he certainly can't see anything in the pocket. So he's at least attempting, and I say that very cautiously, to survive by moving around athletically. He may not be good enough, but we won't know that, and they'll keep trying to see if he's the right guy for the next year or two, maybe. But yeah, I agree with you, Mark. Athletes have a better chance early, but sooner or later, that catches up with you. Ask Lamar.
What do you do if you're Robert Saleh? Because it seems as if your team is ahead of your quarterback, and you could make the playoffs this year. I mean, in theory, with Mike White or Joe Flacco, but I don't know if you can make it with Zach Wilson, but he's the 2nd overall pick, and it's year 2. I mean, what do you do if you're the coach there? Deep down, man, I can make the playoffs, but I don't know if I can do it with this guy.
Well, I don't even know if it's his decision. So they got a number 2 overall pick, and they're going to weather the storm and go with the growing pains because they think the investment is on the other side. It's kind of like they think long-term he might be the answer. Now, they've made this mistake before, but, I get calls all the time. Don't you think they should sign Garoppolo next year when he's free? Because for your point, David, Garoppolo and this team, they go to the playoffs. The question then becomes, do they go very far in the playoffs? Are they a Super Bowl contender, or are they just a team that made the playoffs? I always go back to Sean McDermott. He goes to Buffalo, he makes the playoffs, and he gets rid of the team because he knows they can't go very far. And he drafts Josh and buys an offensive line and really tools it up to go that way. So I don't know. Flacco and those guys aren't taking you anywhere, but they might get in. But what's going to happen? They're going to lose in the first round. If you're lucky, you win run, but you're not a Super Bowl team with those guys. Now, You asked about Salah. If I'm Salah, I'd like a contract extension before I go another day with Wilson.
What's it going to take, Pat, for you, David, anybody to buy the Minnesota Vikings? Because they are 6-1. They've only lost to the undefeated Eagles, and there is not anyone in the league that's buying that the Vikings. You guys just both talked about it. If you're naming the second and third place teams in the NFC, and I'm probably with you, it's Dallas and San Francisco. What's it going to take for the Vikings to get any love?
Cousins has to convince me he's rough, tough, and able to get into the playoffs and win games. We said this on this show a number of times. It's Cousins, his postseason record. He's thrown a touchdown pass in 37 straight games, and that's awesome. But he still hasn't really captured the faith of the football people that study this game all the time. And it's really his postseason record and some of the things he does in the heat of the moment. He rarely comes out for that final drive and you think, oh, gunslinger, watch out. This guy's going to tear these guys up. And he occasionally does, but he just doesn't have what everyone's looking for as it relates to magic. And that's not going to change until he fixes it.
For what it's worth, by the way, I'm more concerned about their defense than I am Cousins and their offense. And I saw Cousins outplay Drew Brees in New Orleans in a playoff game. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I don't think he goes to a Super Bowl. All right. But I don't think he's Jared Goff either, if you know what I mean. But I think, Mark, Minnesota's a team that wins the division, gets to the playoffs, wins a home playoff game, and probably gets beat at home in the division round.
So let me ask you, now that you made that analogy, I got you on Goff. Is he as good on the field as Garoppolo?
No.
Well,
He's
there
not.
it is. Garoppolo's an average athlete, an average quarterback, but you feel instinctively that this tough leader type is going to do more.
But I will say this, Pat, if there's 2.5 minutes to go and I got 2 timeouts and I'm down 6 and I got the ball, I'd rather have Cousins than Garoppolo. Garoppolo the first 57 minutes, but I really would rather have Cousins for the final 3.
You're the tiebreaker on that one, Mark. Who do you want?
I'll take him. I'll take Cousins. I'm just curious. You guys are both taking Dak in that situation too over those two, or no?
I don't know about Dak either.
Yeah, okay.
Garoppolo.
Sure.
I mentioned Garoppolo specifically because his history in the postseason. He has done things that are on his. There's skins on the wall for him.
Not in the fourth quarter, though.
Oh,
not in the fourth quarter.
Oh.
Yeah, I was there. I was there. NFC Championship
let me ask you one
Super
question.
Bowl, he had wide open throws in both games, and he missed them.
Has he been to the championship game?
Yes, he has.
Yeah. Has Cousins?
No.
He couldn't get there hitchhiking for a ride to this thing. Come on.
He also hasn't had the Niners defense both times.
Oh, there was a time when people thought they had quite a nice defense there.
Yeah, that was 2017, 2018 with Mike Zimmer.
Oh, we blame Zim.
No. I'm just saying the defense is aged out. I'm more concerned about the defense, quite frankly. When teams go 3 wide on them, they can't cover them.
Well, I'm glad you were asked the question before who you like for 2 and 3, and you didn't mention Minnesota.
He's Pat Kirwan. Moving the chains, weekday afternoons, 3 to 7 on NFL radio. Also, he and Jim Miller do 2 to 5 on Saturdays. And he's part of CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Joe Zagacki, the voice of the Miami Hurricanes, next.
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, Nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know the Vikings might put a 13-3 up, right?
Yeah, they could be 13-4. Yeah.
Yeah. Big stretch for them coming up. At Washington, at the Bills, home for the Cowboys, home for the Patriots. Then it's Jets, Lions, Colts, Giants, Packers, Bears. I mean,
No, you're right. If they can go 2-2 these next 4 games,
they
and
could put
be
a 13-4 on the board really easily.
how they'll be 8-3. I mean, certainly you could see. I mean, the Packers already have 5 losses, so the best they can get to is 12. So I mean, if you're the Vikings, you're thinking, oh God, 12-5, win this thing. That's 7-4 the rest, or 6-4 the rest of the way.
I would disagree with you, Adam, because they're playing Washington this week, and Washington doesn't give up a lot of points. Wow, I would go neither okay music.
Yeah, they got to go 7-2 the rest of the way. I think knowing the Bucs schedule, I think I would bet Packers before I'd bet them, but Do you have a feeling it's going to be the right 8 that wins the NFC South? I mean, the Commanders won the East at 7-9 2 years ago.
And the Bucks win 6 more games.
But if they go 5-4 and it's the right 5-4,
I think the Bucks will get to 9.
I think it's going to come down to the final Sunday of the year, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Winner's going to win the South. By the way, CBS gets Rams Bucks this Sunday. It's Nance, Romo, and Wolfson.
Zagacki's on hold. We're back in 15.
Great. Thank you. Look at that.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until we are done in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour in the 239 Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It is Canes Knowles week or Knowles Canes week, depending on your point of view. We know Joe Zagacki's point of view, longtime voice of the Miami Hurricanes, kind enough to join us once again. You can follow Joe on Twitter at Canes Voice. Canes Voice. First off, thanks for your time, as always. Secondly, you ready for next week? You're going to have to double dip it for a few weeks. Hoops starts next week. Hell, you guys went to the Elite Eight last year. You ready?
I'm trying to sort out some of that travel. I don't trust the airlines this year, so I'm trying. I have one crossover, and I'm a little worried about it. So I haven't sorted it out, but I'm ready. I think they're going to have a really good basketball team. They're going to be fast. They're going to be not very tall again, but they're going to score a lot of points, and I think they're going to have, provided they stay healthy, and they have a very deep roster. I think they're going to have a heck of a run this year again. I think they're going to be really good. They're picked by the ACC, media members to finish fourth in the league behind, I think, Duke, Carolina, Duke, and maybe Virginia. By the way, was that Moulton on national TV last night?
Oh,
it most certainly was, Joe, dressed as Sully from Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, great costume, wonderful.
I couldn't agree more with you, Joe. I couldn't agree with you more.
Of courage.
Or stupidity. One or the other, Joe.
Joe, you said
courageous.
You said the Canes basketball team's supposed to be good if they stay healthy. Well, the football team was supposed to be good, but they didn't stay healthy. And I would guess more than anything, the depth of the Canes program is what's been exposed this year.
Well, it's been tough sledding, that's for sure. It's not exactly what everybody expected, but sometimes, this is what everybody wanted, this kind of change. The frustrating thing to me is that people just kind of want to take you back to the same default position of 20 years, right? Okay, you got a new coach, you got all that stuff. The guy everybody wanted, you probably knew there were going to be some growing pains. Doesn't work out exactly the way you anticipated. And I told my partner, Don Bailey, I said, the two people I do not want to be this year would be the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, because that's where the criticism is going to go. And of course, it's all on Josh Gaddis. Why did Mario hire him? Like, well, the guy won the Broyles Award last year. You can't really hire anybody better, I don't think. The guy, I don't know how they judge the Broyles Award, but he won it. That's a pretty good hire. And injuries, to your point, have pretty much sabotaged the offense, along with probably, change in philosophy and an adjustment between what Mario's vision is and Gaddis and what Van Dyke wants to do. And I think I told you guys earlier this summer, I think when I look at Van Dyke, I see you're going to laugh at this. I see Dan Marino, but not Marino, the same quarterback. Just the mentality of, yeah, I got it. Running game is good, but guess what? I can throw the ball. I prefer throwing the ball. That's kind of Dan Marino, the attitude. And so they've been stuck in that conundrum, trying to sort it out. It's been very hard to get to an identity. And so now they go into this Florida State game, probably playing a backup quarterback. We'll see. We'll see how the week plays out.
We're talking with Joe Zagacki, longtime voice of the Miami Hurricanes. You can follow him on Twitter at Canes Voice. Canes Voice. Do they need this game? And I don't mean to win it, but just to play it, Joe. That the game brings excitement. The game brings an energy to it. And it's been a rough season, and it's been really rough lately in a strange way, even though Florida State's pretty good and playing better than Miami right now. Do you think that this program and this team needs to play this game? Because, this game oftentimes elevates both teams.
Oh, no, yeah, they need to play this game, and they need to win the game. This makes the season. Look what it did to them last year. Not only did it break the season, it turned the entire program upside down. So, yeah, they need to play this game. They need to play well, and they need to win. And this makes your season. And anytime Miami and Florida State play, we're toying with our, writing the open of the game, and I think my line in there is something like, this is the game. This game is the one where it makes no other game matters. The only game that matters in the season is this one right here, Miami and Florida State. I think that's probably true for both sides. Neither team is going anywhere this year. Maybe to a bowl game or whatever, but not going anywhere for championship contention. So the way I look at it, I know Florida State's got Florida, and that's a big rival for them as well. But the way I look at it is, this is for Miami and Florida State kind of their game of the year, right? Their Super Bowl game, and kind of my mentality going into this game. Put the records to the side a little bit. It's still Miami and Florida State. Going to be a big crowd, and the stakes are bragging rights for 365 days. And for the loser, it's wait until next year. And I don't want to be on that side.
You think Cristobal will get more aggressive? I thought, for what it's worth, at the end of the Virginia game, I would have probably gone for it at the end of the game. He ended up winning the game in overtime, and I get the reason when you're not scoring. It's like, get the 3 points and get to overtime. But do you think after last week, do you think they'll try to be a touch more aggressive in this game?
You know what? I don't know. And I would say I'd go the other way. I think they've been too aggressive, to be honest with you, this year in certain cases. Last week, they punted, right? They just kept punting. And they punted, I think, 8 out of 10 possessions. And they kept pinning Virginia back. And I'm not so sure. It's great to second guess, and easy for me to sit here on the couch and second guess Carolina and Duke. But there are a couple possessions there, and I don't know if it's the analytics they call for it or whatever. My gut was kind of telling me, maybe you ought to punt this thing and pin them back. I know everybody always wants to go for it on fourth down, but a couple of those fourth downs this year have been, exploding cigars on Miami. I get going for it on the goal line, but in the middle of the field or in your territory, I think that's pretty dangerous. I think it's always has been dangerous. Analytics might not agree with a new wave of football, but I don't know. We've been playing football for a long time, and it usually says pin them back.
Joe, I don't remember in the last 17, 18 years when Miami has struggled on the field and it didn't affect recruiting. And so far, it seems as if, they're kind of middle of the road on the field, but they are kicking off the field. And that, if I'm a Canes fan, man, if he holds this recruiting class together coming off what, you have to think is probably going to be the worst year Mario's going to have for a while, that's a good sign.
Well, it's a very good sign. It's funny to me how that topic comes up all the time with Miami. Now, I talked to Mario about it a couple weeks ago, and I said, you better be ready for the outside attacks. And he looked at me like, what? And I said, oh, yeah, people are going to come after your recruiting class on whether or not you can hold it together. And so he's been ready with the answers, and the answers for him holding this recruiting class together are the quality of people that he's recruiting And, in the past, Miami's had some very good classes at this time. And maybe it was because they were losing, or maybe it was sabotage for other reasons. I don't know. I just know this. It was sabotage. And so he's done a good job building relationships. He's got, this coaching staff knows how to recruit. They know how to build relationships with players and parents, and I'll call them the entourage that comes with recruits today. So I think that's a real strength of Mario Cristobal. I would return the volley back to you guys just as conversation and say, I just wonder why every time Miami puts together a recruiting class and they struggle like this, one of the first things in the playbook of everyone is the recruiting class is going to fall apart, and they go right after it. They go right to the moms and the dads and the entourage, especially of the local kids. I never understood it down here. And I'm like, Florida State's had some tough years. Florida's had some tough years. LSU's had some tough years. Do they go and call those kids and their parents and all that stuff and stir it all up? Or is this just the playbook in South Florida?
I think it's the playbook everywhere. I mean, Joe, I think it's the world we live in right now, that if things start going south, the negative recruiting comes out. And the difference to me between Miami and some of the other schools is that you're in the hunt for all these 5-star players. This isn't, Indiana that's trying to get a 2 or a 3-star. You're trying to get big time players and trying to get them to commit to the University of Miami. And I think, unfortunately, with that, some of the negative recruiting comes along with it.
I just know this, that there are only so many great players to go around, right? In my opinion, whether it's Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, there are only so many great players that go around. We got a lot of teams playing college football, but a lot like the NBA, or I guess maybe a little bit in the NFL, we see all these, super teams clearly at the high school level. I can name you, if I was recruiting here in South Florida, I'd go to Chaminade, St. Thomas, and American Heritage. That's about where all the players are. They all transfer in. And I look at college football and I go, well, Georgia and Ohio State, they might as well go to the NFL along with Alabama. Everybody else can play college football. I'm watching Georgia and Florida, and Florida loses by 20 points. And it pains me to say this, but I think Miami would have a tough time with Florida. They lost to Georgia by 20. I'm just looking at size, speed, and strength. And I look at the Miami roster, and it might be good for the ACC, or it should be good for the ACC, but it's not good enough for the top 10. I can tell you that.
Well, I think Cristobal alluded to that in his coaching, the show yesterday, and in some of his interviews talked about they missed plays. And even though it's a backup quarterback, they've got to hit. They had open receivers last week against Virginia. They didn't hit them. It's going to be imperative this week against Florida State to get that done.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. He got a little nervous, I think, in the pocket. It seemed like he was on his toes, and I think he missed some receivers, no question. And so for him, I guess a little bit like, when fans want backup quarterback, he's, the popular choice. Well, when it actually is the backup quarterback in there for everybody, oh, yeah, it's a little bit of a different ball game. And so I thought, like Mario said, he played with, a lot of guts. He hung right in there. He didn't give up. It was a frustrating day for everybody involved, but he stayed with it. And I thought that was good. And I think that shows some leadership also, and responded to some adversity. But against Florida State, they're going to have to make some plays. Florida State's front, really good. They got a bevy of guys in that secondary, interchangeable parts. I don't know if Florida State's defense is quite as good as it was at the end of last year, because that kid Johnson on the edge was really terrific. But they're deep on their defensive line. And I woke up this morning thinking, man alive, Miami's got to stop this run game of Florida State. This Toafili can go, and Benson can go, and Jordan Travis, when he comes off those zone options, when he gets past the first line, he might be the fastest guy on the field. You got to find a way to build a fence around him and keep him in the pocket. I think the longer the ball is in his hands, the better. If he's retreating, when he starts to retreat and spins around and does all that stuff, you got a chance maybe that he'll fumble. But Miami's run defense is third in the ACC. They're going to have to be way, way better than that on Saturday. And then if it's Garcia, he's going to have to be a lot more. He's going to have to be more sharp than he was against Virginia. That's for sure.
Joe, as always, we appreciate your time and your insight. Have a great call. Good luck next week when you start doing hoops, and hopefully we can catch up a little bit later on in the month.
All right, fellas. Thank you very much. Good job with the costume on national TV. Moulton. It was spectacular.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your support. Officially, that was Sully from Monsters, Inc. That was Sully.
Okay. I got you. Well, I didn't know what it was, but I said, man, you got fortitude.
Joe Zagacki. Kane's Voice is how you follow him on Twitter. Kane's Voice, because he is the voice of the Miami Hurricanes in 21 plus years now. Joe Zagacki joining us here on Miller and Moulton.
Not as many people saw Monsters Inc. as you, and it's the problem of how they shot you. There was no real choice because there's only one camera to get you, so it's not like they could.
Well, it's funny. There was a booth camera, but it was only on Joe and Troy. So it was the two shot when they're standing in front of the Monday Night Football board. So there was no other shot. So, yeah, they had to shoot from far away. And, yeah, a lot of people, Monsters, Inc. was big in our house. And then, it did really well sales-wise, so I thought more people were familiar of it. But it is a generation ago.
You pulled it off. No matter how you slice it, you pulled it off.
I don't know if I pulled it off or I just fit into it, one or the other.
A texter did suggest, though, go as Sully the pilot next year and just keep the theme going as a different Sully for the rest of your tenure on Monday Night Football. We'll keep figuring out more and more.
Don't have another one for 6 years, though. Got to worry about it in 2028.
Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening. The bonus hour in the 239 is on the other side.
Excuse me. Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Georgia linebacker Nolan Smith out for the year. Yes, it is.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
Texas A&M play-by-play radio guy Andrew Monaco available after Wednesday because Wednesday he's doing a one-on-one interview with Jimbo. He says you should get me after that day. So
Okay.
Thursday?
David? David. So Thursday we normally have
I'm sorry, were you talking?
Yeah. We can get the A&M play-by-play guy on Thursday. They have Florida this week.
Done.
Okay, but Thursday we normally have Pro Football Network, Roy, and Dr. Roto. Do you want to do it at 9 a.m. in the bonus?
Sure.
9 a.m. Eastern. Make sure he knows it's Eastern.
Right.
Because he's in
8 a.m.
Central.
Central. Right.
Okay, 9 a.m. Eastern, and also
because he's doing a sit down with Jimbo tomorrow. So if we get him Thursday, we'll have sat down with Jimbo yesterday.
Yeah, that's
Also-
a great get.
Yep. Good job, Felipe.
Also, I heard back from FSU. They said Coach Norvell's schedule will not allow us, but if you're interested in an assistant coach, we can try to make that happen. Noel's assistant coach?
No, we got Jeff Cameron tomorrow.
Okay.
At 8.
That's good. All right, I'll email Andrew Monaco now.
I may have had too much chocolate yesterday.
How does one gauge that?
Stomach hurts.
Okay.
Feel a little bloated.
Okay. It's different than too much drinking, or is
Very different.
Okay, how about this? If you overeat with something other than chocolate, does it feel differently than this?
No, and it could be the Jets pizza I had with the chocolate last.
Oh, it's definitely that.
Awesome.
I don't know why, but I needed Jets pizza yesterday. I needed some grease.
You get the super style?
That's the only one you get from there.
That's right. That's right. The super special? Oh my God. Jets Pizza, sponsor us. Give me free pizza. Give me free stuff. We're
I
back.
was going to say Felipe would do a trade deal. Felipe and Marty should talk.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, on this first day of November. Hope Halloween treated you well. Apparently, Halloween is fighting back on one Mark Miller. He commented during the break. Is it the chocolate? What is it? Is it the candy corn? Is it too much of the gummy bears? What
Chocolate. All chocolate.
Okay.
Reese's, M&M's, 100 grand bar, a couple of
Wow.
Twix, maybe a Rolo in there.
All right.
My daughter really doesn't like chocolate. She likes all of the Skittles and the Starburst and the gummy worms and that type of stuff. So Dad was able to have a little bit of Maddie's chocolate last night. And I may have had too much watching that Monday Night Football game.
You may?
Yeah, I was trying to stay awake, so I was going for the sugar buzz as long as I could, David.
Gotcha. I'm curious. How's the wife with chocolate? Like, is this all yours? Or...
No, she loves chocolate.
Okay.
My wife is a milk chocolate fan.
Gotcha. So you two were just sitting there passing bars back and forth to one another.
Totally. It's like basically both looked at the daughter before she went out trick-or-treating and said, hey, remember Mom and Dad on this trip? She did the 2 trunk or treats and didn't get any chocolate, was completely selfish. And for an 8-year-old, I was shocked and appalled. So we had to let her know there was going to be some tax on the Monday night.
There was a Halloween tax, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. So let me get this straight. She just on Friday and Saturday with the trunk or treat only grabbed the stuff she wanted for her.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Since it was Halloween and it's for her, she grabbed what she wanted.
I was going to say she was the only one of the family in costume until your mom got dressed up yesterday. Did your mom getting dressed up think that maybe you should have gotten dressed up?
I don't know what she was thinking. I've given up on that, trying to figure out what's going on in Mom's head.
No, but I'm just wondering, daughter's dressed up, mom's dressed up. It's the 3 of you in the golf cart. And so I'm wondering if you're then thinking, next year, maybe I have to get dressed up now.
I just got to get an A&M shirt and a visor and I'm good.
Yes. The coolest dads dress up.
So now, all right, in full disclosure, and for those of you that don't know what Mark Miller looks like, Mark has been lately compared to Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
I see a little bit of it. I do. Your hair's better than his, though. His is, less than thinning and all that.
And if I go straight back, it gives it a little bit more of the
yes.
I got to get a little poof and get it all going straight back.
He wears the glasses. You wear glasses. He does kind of look over them more than you do, though. If you're going to go as Jimbo, you're going to have to, closer to the end of the nose and look over it. But you could pull that off. You have also, when you wear your hair a certain way, okay, you have been compared to Governor DeSantis.
A lot. Someone stopped me at the trunk or treat and basically said, was I going as Governor DeSantis? And, I wasn't, but I'll take that look. I don't know if he'd take that look.
Well, no, I mean, nobody who's successful wants to compare themselves to Miller and Moulton in any way. I mean, there's no question about that. So, but obviously, I mean, he's expected to win going away here in a week. And then he likely is going to run for, I don't know if it's better things, but bigger things. And so, it could, I mean, who knows, by next Halloween, Mark, he could be a candidate for president. That's not a bad person to then go as, particularly in the 239.
You've got that down.
Right. So, I mean, your daughter might be glomming off of you if you go as governor, presidential candidate DeSantis. I mean, people may not stop at chocolate. They may be handing you liquor, for goodness sakes.
I'll have to get the right outfit, get the shrimp boots.
Yes. That's exactly who you should go as. You should go as Governor DeSantis a few days after Ian. Yes, everybody will know if you've got shrimp boots up to your knees.
Right.
Yes.
And then the blue pullover was all he had with that.
Right. Exactly. Done. Your daughter will literally say, come on, Dad, give me some of the candy. They're giving you all the candy. You'll crush it. And by the way, do not stop at 8 o'clock like you guys did last night. If you're going as
I'll be
DeSantis,
knocking on doors and just shaking hands with people. Instead of trick or treat, how you doing? Governor DeSantis, pleased to meet you.
Felipe said where his parents lived, apparently Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra and his kids were making the rounds, and that Coach Spo knocked on his dad's door. Could you imagine if Felipe was at the house and Spoelstra knocked on the door? Oh my
gosh,
goodness.
He tried to remain so calm, but he couldn't.
But you, Felipe, would not have kept it together at all. It would.
I know that whatever I would have said, I would have regretted it and probably
Yes.
thought of something better afterwards.
Yes. And yes. And yes.
Well, I did notice with David Samson comes on via video link. So he's on a few minutes before we go on the radio. So if you're on Twitch, you can hear our little behind the scenes conversation. And Felipe decided he wanted to interview David Samson with a couple of questions today.
Right.
And brought up when the Miami Marlins had their Vuvuzela incident, of which did not go very well for the Marlins. Or the guy who approved the idea, one David Samson, and
Correct.
he finished by saying, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Thanks a lot. And that's how we got to start our interview.
Right.
They completely.
Right.
Just some hard-nosed investigative journalism right there, you know?
And we're doing that. Why? Don't you realize you're producing the Miller and Moulton show?
The thing about it,
hold on. Hard hitting, not a part of the show. Investigative, not a part of the show. Journalism, not a part of the show. Just keep that in mind. You got to know the show you're producing. You want to do your podcast, talk your MBA and all the stuff that you want to talk about. You knock yourself out. Miller and Moulton show, not hard hitting, not investigative, not journalistic. That's all.
listen, Mr. David Samson can answer any single Marlins question I've ever had in my entire life.
He can, but it doesn't mean he wants to.
That's a good point.
That's really the point we're trying to get to here.
That's all.
And you were having trouble figuring that out.
Right.
So I thought
also a couple of guys who combined have done about 20,000 interviews. Okay, you really might want to listen to us on this. We know how to butter up guests and get them to talk. Bringing up one of the 10 things they never want to think about again, not a good starter. I was wondering because he was very subdued at the beginning of the interview. I had a little technical issue. Fortunately, it was during the commercial break, and I reconnected with like 40 seconds before we were about to go on with David. And I said, hey, can everybody see and hear me? And you went, yeah. And David Samson was just sitting there like, yeah. So now I know what went on.
Felipe brought up vuvuzelas and something about the orange color in the Miami Marlins uniform, of which David's looking at me like, who are you letting speak to me right now?
I just, sorry about that, David. Now I'll have to text him now and go, hey, man, sorry about Felipe. Okay.
Eager producer. He's a Miami kid. He can't help himself.
Right.
I can't. I'm sorry.
So about that 2003 season, wasn't that great?
When I was 3 years old, oh, that was awesome.
Miller.
How was that rain delay in Game 3?
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you were the Bucks and you are giving up a third-round pick, I'll limit you to third-round pick. You can bring in one position today for a third-round pick. What position would it be?
Tight end.
Okay.
They need a safety valve across the middle. If I can't get a tight end, then I'd go for a guard.
By the way, Robert Jones is very unhappy. He's with the Chiefs, and he is getting no playing time. And he backed up Fournette and kind of did the do-si-do with Fournette the last couple of years. They don't seem to have anybody besides playoff Lenny that they have any confidence in to give the ball. I mean, do you give up a seventh-round pick and just bring him back into the fold He knows the plays, and he hasn't carried the ball. He'd be thrilled to be a backup and have 8 touches a game because he's getting zip, zilch, nada in Kansas City. I'm just saying. I'm with you, Mark. I'm torn between guard and tight end. I think they need a stud guard.
And that's what Pat said, and you two are probably both right. But I don't know where they are. If Jensen's coming back and they're going to be able to move guys, and that's going to fortify the inside of their line enough in their estimation, maybe not. I just think that Brady's missing a tight end that he trusts.
He definitely is. And I am a little surprised. I mean, they were able to talk Cole Beasley, who was not yet retired. He was just unemployed. They were able to talk him into coming to Tampa, and he did that for all of the week. But I am surprised they have not been able to talk some of the recently retired offensive linemen into unretiring and giving them half a year.
So we will see. Pat has a big under on the Moulton trade over-under that we set yesterday at 5.5. One yesterday, so we need 5 more trades today. Pat thinks there'll only be about 2, which was so disheartening to one David Moulton. I hope that Pat is wrong for your sake.
Well, let me tell you, and I'm not just saying this because this is my philosophy and this is what I would do, but Mark, we've spent a couple weeks now talking about how mediocre a whole lot of teams are. I don't think there's a whole lot as a GM you have to do today to really help nudge your team and, get them in the playoffs. So why wouldn't you? 10 seconds. If I said to you, you got to give up one middle of the road draft pick, but you'll bring in a guy to help you make the playoffs, would you do it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
RCB, we can't agree with that more. That's what we've been saying. You start going through the percentage of 1/3, easily 1/3 of the first round draft picks don't work out because on average, out of 32 first round picks, only like 19 to 21 guys have their 5th-year option picked up.
So there's a member at our course, Joe's in his late 70s, really good golfer. He's a Michigan State grad like me, and we have one Michigan grad that plays in my group. I'm talking to Joe yesterday about what happened and not feeling good about it. And one of the guys walks up, he goes, "Hey, if Jim Barrow walks up, you two going to beat the shit out of him?"
That's funny.
It is funny. You just got to take it.
It's funny.
Ambrosia salad sucks. I'm saying it now, Canada Relief, and I'm sticking by it. Oh, I bet. When you're in cities where there's families, it's a whole different world.
Wow, ambrosia salad? Ugh. Listen, I'm okay with Miracle Whip. I know, but I'm okay with it. It's awful. Don't get me wrong. It'll help kill you, but that's okay.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, and final thoughts all coming up in roughly 20 minutes' time. Miller and Moulton, the bonus hour. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You know a team that you and I have not talked about really in the last week or so, maybe once? If you're Green Bay right now, we keep talking about Tampa Bay's got to be all in. This is the last year of Brady, or at least we're assuming so. Could be wrong. But, hey, there's already been a report out that Rodgers has let the organization know this is his last year. Whether that's true or not, you've lost 4 in a row. You have no team speed on the outside. I mean, At what point do you do something you don't normally do and give up a nice draft pick here and get a wide receiver?
And this is where I'm going to take Pat's side a little bit. I'm with you, David. They need to go get some speed. But you better be willing to give up something, because I'm not letting you just pluck speed from me without paying a premium, because you have the Green Bay Packers over a barrel right now. And they are. And the same thing with Tampa Bay. Both, if they want to go out and acquire players, are going to have to overpay for them. That's the way this works. So ask yourself this question, David. Will you be willing to overpay for what it is you need? Because you're not going to get what you think you're willing to have to spend to get it, because GMs are not going to operate with you that way. They just won't.
Here's the deal. It's the same thing with the Giants. And I don't mention that the Giants need to go get a wide receiver for this year, even though they do. The Giants wide receiving core is so bad, whoever you pick up today, if you were to pick someone up, is going to be on your roster next year. All right. So to me, go get a guy who's not only going to help you the second half of the year, make sure you get into the playoffs. That'll be nice. You haven't had a lot of success lately, but is going to be one of your top 4 receivers for next year. Okay. And the same thing, quite frankly, with Green Bay. If you're the GM of the Packers, you'll look at the wide receiving core you've assembled. First off, Sammy's a year-to-year proposition. All right. He ain't signed for next year. All right. You got Lazard. Cobb is old. All right. And the young guys haven't produced. You mean to tell me you can't pick somebody up today who not only is going to help you in the second half of this year, but you can't guarantee he's going to be one of your top 4 receivers next year? I think you can. So you're not just picking up a rental here. But quite frankly, with Aaron Rodgers, you know what? I'll treat this year as his last year, because goodness knows what that man is thinking.
All right. Would you call Pittsburgh? You got Johnson and Claypool. I don't know if either of them, they're not going to get rid of Pickens, the young guy, but they might get rid of one of the other two.
Yeah. Yes. I need help. Did you see the game on Sunday night? I mean, not only is Buffalo better, how much faster did Buffalo look than Green Bay? It's like when Buffalo played New England last year. And I know New England won the one game in 112-mile-an-hour winds, but when they played on a normal field, New England couldn't stay on the field, Mark. I mean, and maybe the Bills are a bad comparison. I don't know what to tell you, but the Packers have looked slow for a while. So have the Patriots. They're both in need of team speed. I mean, when I look at the Patriots, Mark, I think, like, you and I are hockey guys. There are some times in which you put 2 teams together and one team just can't skate with the other team. It's like, oh my goodness. They're just going to have to dump the puck in and grind it out and play below the goal line, or else they have no chance. If this becomes a 200-foot game, this sucker's over. And when I look at the Packers on Sunday night, I thought, oh my goodness, they can't run with anybody.
Right. And they have a quarterback that wants to throw the ball down the field, doesn't want a dink and dunk all game to try to win. And that's the type of team they have right now. I mean, they have a team that's got to have 12-play, 75-yard drive after 10-play, 78-yard drive. That's the only way this offense can work, David.
I mean, now, granted, it was Sunday and it was against that opponent, but when has Green Bay looked most effective recently? When they're playing like the Tennessee Titans? I mean, first off, number 12 ain't coming back if you're going to start playing like the Tennessee Titans, number 1. And number 2, that's not exactly taking the best use of number 12 and turning him into Ryan Tannehill. You know how much I love Ryan Tannehill. Well, come on now.
But that is the way they have to win for the rest of this year. So I would be calling Pittsburgh to see if they'd be willing to get rid of a receiver.
And I would think they would be. I think the Steelers, come on now. If you're the Steelers, do you really think that by next year, let's do an honest truth serum, looking in the mirror. Okay. Do you need to lose 20 pounds or you need to lose 40? Come on now. If you're the Steelers, how much weight do you need to lose?
Why did you have to go there?
Well, but it's the difference between you and I. You just have to lose a little bit. You're a playoff guy next year. Me? Oh, no. We got to reload. You're reloading. I'm rebuilding. Yes. I got to tear it down, build it back up. Right. There's a difference.
Detroit's able to score on anybody. Would they part with one of their receivers? I don't think they'd part with St. Brown. He's been banged up, but they've been torching everybody. They can't stop anybody.
I don't understand why Hawkinson keeps being mentioned in trades. Let me tell you, if the Lions trade Hawkinson, if I'm a Lions fan, honestly, I'm done. Because then I'm just waiting out this regime. I'm like, well, these guys are idiots. I'll just wait till these two get fired, and then I'll be back on board for the next two. But what about DeAndre Swift if you're the Lions? Now, I wouldn't, but I mean, I'll say this, to me, an easy trade. Hunt wants out of Cleveland. He ain't coming back. And Akers wants out of L.A., and he ain't coming back. So trade them for each other. Akers will accept his number 2 role with Cleveland. Hell, he ain't even number 2 with the Rams. And Hunt will gladly get out of Cleveland, where he's not going to get a whole lot of work behind Chubb, and he can go to the Rams, and they'll make him the second biggest focal point in the offense next to Kupp.
You think Chubb gets dealt today?
Yeah.
From Denver?
I do. Oh, Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
Well, you know me. I'm, glass. When it comes to this, I'm glass half full. So, yeah. No, I think there's deals to be done. And I would like to think, it's a copycat league, the Rams made a big play. They traded for Von Miller, second and a third they gave up. Everybody mocked them. Overpay, blah, blah, blah. And then when Odell Beckham hit the streets, they pounced on Odell Beckham. How different would life have been last year if Green Bay had pounced on Odell Beckham instead of the Rams?
Will they pounce this year when he's available? And what receivers will get dealt? Because there's plenty of teams that are looking for receiver. You've got some pass rushers that are out there. Will we see trades at all today? I don't know. I
think the number 4 receiver on the Dolphins, I think, gets dealt today. He's getting no targets, no catches. All right. They don't go 4 wide very often. They're a 3 wide team with Gesicki and a running back when they got to throw the ball. I mean, I think the Dolphins make some deals today. And if they could trade their number 4 receiver, how about for an offensive lineman? You got one of your starters that's hurt. No guarantees coming back. You need bodies. Your line's not good to begin with. Like, you can't bring in a reinforcement today. You can't help. Jack Conklin's available from the Cleveland Browns. Here, come on, let's talk. Let's talk. Come in and plug in and start a tackle. You can move one of your tackles to guard. And the line just got a lot better in 3 minutes. You wouldn't give up a 4th-round pick for that?
I'd do it yesterday. Because that line, like you said, it's injured, and even when it's healthy, is not great. So any depth you're giving that offensive line is going to help the Miami Dolphins. Still rather see him go get a pass rusher, but that's just me.
Okay. Hey, Bradley Chubb, hello.
If you're Miami, would you give up a first for it?
No.
Would you give up the Von Miller deal? Second and a third?
Yes.
Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. Still ahead right here on the Florida Sports Network. For the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So I caught a break.
Yeah.
Remember the 8 days difference between when we had to close on the condo and when we were able to sell the house?
Yeah.
And it was going to cost me $12,000 in mortgage payments before I could pay off. Well, apparently the people that we did the financing with, they sold our loan already. And they sold it to a company who's like, no, man, you could pay it off right now.
Perfect.
So tomorrow I'm going to pay off the condo.
That's awesome.
Saved me about 12 grand in mortgage payments.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Because of that 12 grand, like $6.56 was going to go towards the principal.
Right.
So it was just going to be flushing money down the toilet. Adam, are you talking about like 5 years after he's retired or what? No, they don't love Rodgers the way they love Favre. Even though Favre left them and ended up on the Vikings. They love Favre more than Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had been terrible for 20 years, and he brought them back to life. So Rodgers didn't have that luck. Plus, Brett's just a little bit more of a have a beer with at the bar guy than Aaron. Yeah, but Canada Relief, whether they go undefeated or not, it's a matter of, are they not going to be the 1 seed? You know, they beat the Vikings and they beat the Cowboys. They're 2 up on the Cowboys in the standings. Yes, Guillermo. You're right. Because, you know, Favre and the Packers had to go through the Cowboys and the Niners, teams that were considered great.
And quite frankly, the Packers have been considered great and have not achieved greatness but the one time with him.
49ers already have 4 losses, Canada Relief. So, I mean, if they ran the table with 13-4, it'd be good enough to be the 1.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
1 minute.
I don't think so.
Tell you what, though, if the 3 and 5 teams aren't careful, the Giants are 6 and 2 and Seattle's 5 and 3, and nobody thinks either one's going to win their division. Well, okay, but then you got to get ahead of them to beat them for the wild card.
And unless one of them goes all Arizona Cardinaling here sometime soon.
Which I think is very possible with the Giants, but
I think it's possible with both Seattle and the Giants.
But then again, we talked about this. If the Giants go 3 and 6 the rest of the way, are we sure their 9 and 8's not going to get them in? I mean, they beat Green Bay, remember. They'd win the tiebreaker.
All right, here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour, 17 minutes until we're done. The Tuesday, November 1st edition of Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tomorrow on the show, Bud Elliott, Jeff Cameron, Seth Everett. That's how we roll. College football at large, the Knowles perspective of the Florida State-Miami game. And then Seth, who's at the World Series last night, planning on being there tonight. So there you go. That's what we got going on.
Lining them up, knocking them down, David. It's that time of year.
Trying to.
It is fun during these commercial breaks. People keep bringing up different teams in the NFC and what we think. And it is just hard to trust anyone in that conference right now, not named the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Dallas, they're going to make it.
Oh, I agree with you. And I think the Niners are going to make it. But the Niners did go get pounded by Atlanta a few weeks ago. I know they were beat up on defense and they've added McCaffrey, but it is just one of those right now. There's just not a lot of trust on that side. And I think it'll be a week-to-week thing after all. It's crazy. We'll see if the trade deadline makes us think differently of any NFC team after today.
And listen, if you're the 5 and 3 Seahawks and the 6 and 2 Giants, you want to see the whole rest of the conference just do what they normally do, which is nothing. I don't want Tampa and New Orleans and Green Bay actually thinking, man, we need help. No. Keep thinking you're good enough. No, we just need to keep on keeping on. Thanks. And then you get to go, whew, man, I think we could sneak in as a wild card because those guys are fools. They needed help today.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
All right. Couple of old historic things. 1512, Michelangelo's paintings on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel are first exhibited. 1604, Othello was first presented. Big money on the aftermarket there. StubHub was going wild for those tickets, David.
Man, oh man. He had matinees and evening performances.
Today in 1800, John Adams becomes the first U.S. president to live in the White House. Today in 1913, even though it wasn't the first, it's called college's inaugural football game when Notre Dame upsets Army 15-13. They were doing this thing called the forward pass.
I thought you were going to say
pretty well.
I thought you were going to say the wave.
No, that was at a Michigan game.
Hello.
Well, they are credited with starting that at the big.
Yes, I know.
1924, the Bruins joined the NHL, becoming the first U.S.-based team to enter the league. Today in 1957, the Mackinac Bridge would open. That scares the bejibbers out of me. 5-mile-long suspended bridge that moves. 1959, Jacques Plante becomes the first NHL goaltender to wear a fiberglass protective face mask.
Wuss. That's what they said. They said, you wuss. Really? Wearing a mask? Come on, toughen up, dude.
I do love that we try to think of old football being so prehistoric. These all happened today in 1964. Jim Brown becomes the first NFL player to exceed 10,000 yards on the ground. But Blanda for the Oilers would attempt 68 passes in a 24-10 loss.
It's the AFL, Mark.
Right.
It didn't count. The NFL looked at that and said, what in the world are they playing over there?
And Lenny wasn't matriculating today. He threw for 435 and 6 TDs. The AFL was great.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Listen, the NFL hated it and still brought in a bunch of franchises.
66, Koufax becomes the first 3-time winner of the Cy Young, unanimous for the second straight year, and it's the final year that only one award is given for pitchers in both leagues.
And by the way, he then retires.
Today in 67, Cool Hand Luke is released.
Ooh.
Might want to just go have a hard-boiled egg for the hell of it.
Still cool.
Abbey Road goes number 1 in the U.S. today in 69. In 77, Jimmy Carter raises minimum wage to $3.35 an hour. It was $2.30 an hour.
And 1977, you're saying?
Yes.
When I broke into the business in the summer of 86, you know what we were making for minimum wage?
$3.35 an hour.
Got that right.
94, they retired Jordan's number 23. 98, Rice and Young hook up for their 80th career touchdown, passing the mark held by Dan Marino and Mark Clayton. In 2000, Pat Riley would win his 1,000th regular season game when the Heat beat the Magic. 2010, San Francisco beats the Rangers in 5. And 2015, the Royals beat the Mets in 5. And it was in 2017, the Astros would win their first ever title, beating the Dodgers by cheating.
Yep. Game 7 in Los Angeles. Yu Darvish through batting practice early. Dodger fans have yet to forgive him or the Astros.
Those celebrating birthdays that are no longer with us, great hockey man Al Arbor and Larry Flint. Those celebrating birthdays today. Gary Player's 87. Ted Hendricks is 75. Fernando Valenzuela is 62. And Steve Hutchinson is 45.
How old do we think Gary Player will have to be when he can't shoot his age?
116.
Because I think Gary could damn near break 87 at Augusta still. It'd be close. You know, but Gary'd be playing every hole for bogey. He'd get up and down on a few of them. It'd be close. Probably birdie a par 5.
Then he'd do 50 push-ups after and make fun of somebody for not being in good enough shape.
Right. Be constantly yelling at his caddy, hey, you're walking too slowly. Keep up.
Oh, I have one contribution. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention it. 2 years ago today, Tua Tagovailoa made his first NFL career start.
There we go. That'll
Look where
work.
we are now.
That'll work.
Also, it's Dia de los Muertos. Happy Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Helsinki for the good, where a king cobra escaped from its home in a Swedish zoo. It was gone for over a week. The venomous king cobra made its way back home by itself.
Oh, boy.
Right. The snake was hiding. The cobra disappeared from view of X-ray cameras. It turned out it just crawled back into home. Just wanted to come home again, David.
It's a cobra, baby. This ain't a black garter. Okay? It's a cobra.
For the bad, we go across the pond into the library in Coventry, England, where Patty Reardon returned a copy of the book Red Deer that had been checked out 84 years earlier by his grandfather.
Come on.
He found the book in the belongings of his deceased mother. He gave the book back and paid the $21.14 fine, the amount of late fees that is accumulated since the book was checked out in 1938.
$21? That's it?
Finally, the ugly, we go to Brownsville, Texas, where Heaven Valenzuela was charged with aggravated assault. Seems that she was arguing with her boyfriend and then pulled a BB gun on him because the boyfriend wanted to go to Walmart, but she refused. So she got out of their van and approached him with a BB gun and said she was going to shoot him. He took the gun away. Police were called. It turned out they had a little weed in the car, and they also had a kid in the car. So the BB gun is going to send her to the pokey for a little while. Got to admit, it's a BB gun. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, November 1st, 2022.
I have nothing, by the way. Nothing. You just, for everything. Birthdays, today was the day when, good, bad, and ugly. You nailed it all today.
Once in a while, I get lucky.
Although the Cobra thing has me freaked out. Man, honestly, you wouldn't see me if by chances I go, we can't find it. Well, then I'm out. I don't know what to tell you. See, I can't avoid that thing. Okay, like there are certain snakes I'm not happy, but I'll take my chances. I think I can get away from it. Not that thing, man. That thing shows up in the room with you. First off, it's likely going to come from underneath the door. So now it's in front of the door. How am I getting out?
I'm of the belief, David, that if I just told you, hey, when you get off the plane today in City X, there are going to be poisonous snakes, that you may cancel the trip.
Oh, yeah. I'd go rent a car and start driving. I'd drive home right now from Cleveland.
I'm with you there. I'm like Indiana Jones when it comes to snakes.
Depends on the snake. But I mean, if we were
But
doing
the
the
Cobra's
show,
got you freaked out. The fact the Cobra just escaped on its own and then came back and could be slithering around anywhere.
Right. No, I'm out.
Down at your desk, Cobra's underneath it.
Yeah. No. I'm not looking. You don't have me freaked out that way. But just the thought of, hey, where we used to be, listen, we've got a dilemma right now. We think we're on top of it. We have a missing Cobra. Okay. But, we're pretty sure it's not here. But we just wanted to let you know. Okay, good. I won't be coming to work for a while. Well, till when? Till you have sliced that thing in 1,300, pieces. Mm-hmm. When I'm driving down 41 and I see signs in which a whole bunch of restaurants are serving Cobra, okay, then I know, they caught it. Okay, good. Yeah.
So a little Cobra and eggs is okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. If that was this, yes. Instead of the McRib, if we were doing McCobra for a week, that'd be great.
Maybe that's what they'll chase it with since it's the farewell tour. Whatever.
Right.
Anybody believes that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ric Flair is going to quit wrestling. Right. Okay.
The McRib will outlast Flair. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, we don't really know if the McRib's alive. We actually think it's. Did you see somebody videotaped how it is they do the McRib and released it? So you get to see it. Oh, it's horrendous. And this is coming from me, who will basically eat anything that's not good for you if it's not nailed down.
I don't think I want to see that video.
No, you do not.
Might want to see the Warriors and the Heat tonight, though.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Miami hosting Golden State. The Heat are a 1-point favorite. The Magic on the road in OKC taking on the Thunder. Bulls and Nets, T-Wolves and Suns, the other two NBA games tonight. Lightning hosting the Senators. Big night of hockey. Florida's in Arizona. They'll be in those wonderful visitor locker rooms that Arizona, what is it, Mullet Arena that they're playing at where the college is?
Right.
And then obviously the World Series tonight.
Hey, you're missing the second biggest thing going on tonight, you know. We got action. Okay. I mean, this whole NBA, NHL, whatever. All right. We got 2 games going on. Point spreads and everything. Ball State, a 7-point dog at Kent State.
I like Kent State laying the points.
And Buffalo, a 3-point favorite at Ohio. Come on, you got to take Ohio at home. That's a Tuesday game, for goodness sake. Got to take the home team in both cases. You're laying the points with one, you're getting them with another. We talk about a road team on Thursday. This is a road team on Tuesday. 2 action games tomorrow, too. All right. So it's November. We got action. ESPNU for the Ball State Kent State game, ESPN2 for Buffalo and Ohio.
You're right, David. You're right. I'm wrong. Maction, number 2 option tonight. Screw the Heat and Golden State.
Really?
Kent State and Ball State.
I mean, it was nearly the NBA Finals last year. Whatever.
Would have been a better finals too.
Yes, well, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I'm just curious, Felipe, when you think the Heat need to start winning games. Just wondering how close to that moment are we?
Not even close.
Oh,
good for you. Good for you.
All right.
Be fine.
I'm impressed. Okay. Just remember that, Mark. He's fine.
The Heat are a tough out. They can win some good road games.
Just so you know, they're 2-5. That's all. Lost tonight to Golden State. That's all. Just do the math. Okay.
70-plus games of these left. I'm not doing math yet. It's a little too early for math.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.